got some stuff to talk about tonight that's gonna rub you, and not the good way, the really, really bad way. You know how I do? I give it to you raw, no rubber here, okay? So I'm gonna say a couple things that's gonna crawl deep under your skin, okay? But it's gonna be the truth. You know that thing y'all like to hear people say when it's convenient? He was telling the truth, though. She was telling the truth, though. They were telling the truth, though. Everybody's telling the truth. I got truth. You got truth. Everybody got truth, right? So tonight I'm going to tell y'all some truth, okay? I'm going to tell you how I see things, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. I dropped the link early. If you want to cam up early. Mama's a little tired today, so I'm not going to keep you here long. Plus, I got a bison burger to get to, hopefully, okay? So we're going to talk about some things. What's your real beef with the Jews? But before we get into that, okay, the Jews are hot on the streets lately, thanks to Kanye West, or Ye. Nowadays, he's calling himself Ye, okay? The Jews are hot on the streets for the past couple weeks now. We're going to discuss it, okay? And we're going to talk about the snowball effect that it's having. And we're going to talk about your real beef with the Jews, what I think your real beef with the Jews is, and what I think Ye's real beef with the Jews is, okay? Which he mentioned in that 2-hour interview with Piers Morgan. But you guys probably glossed over that and missed something very, very important that Ye said. All right, that can answer this question here. What's your real beef with the Jews? All right. Now I'm talking about the white Jews, the ones that wear the little hats on top. I'm not talking about the guys that yell on the corner at you when you're shopping in the purple outfits. I'm not talking about those. I'm not talking about the Semites in the beginning who were black, according to some people. I'm not talking about those. And Kanye wasn't talking about those, was he? Was he? So let's take care of a little business. I am on the block with Jen on TikTok and on Instagram. If you want to hit me at my Gmail, at my personal, you can email me at ontheblockwithjen@gmail. It is not a dating site. My Gmail is not a dating site. Do not slide in there to ask me out on a date. Yes, I'm a heterosexual woman, but I'm not looking. Okay? So if you want to collab with me, or you want to give me a show idea, or you haven't heard someone dissect a subject the way you know I can, hit me at ontheblockwithjen@gmail. I welcome you all. It's a suggestion box. All right? It is not where you ask me to marry you. Okay? If you want to know more about me, my ins and outs, the days of my ins and outs, what I do for a living, my reels, ontheblockwithjen@gmail. If you want to see me act the fool on TikTok, I am also on the block with Jen on TikTok. If you want to support the show, whether you are watching me live right now, you can super chat me, or you can cash at me right there on the bottom. See that thing scrolling on the bottom? It's not for show. It's not a snow globe, okay? It is not the prices up and down in the stock market. It is my Cash App. It says buy me a smoothie. It's also on the block with Jen. Cash App, on the block with Jen if you want to support the show. If you're catching a replay, you're not live, you can't hit me in the super chat, you can still hit me a Cash App. It is open 24 hours a day. So while Mama is sleeping, I will get your notification of your donation, okay? If you want to support the show, because Mama got to keep the lights on just like the church, okay? And I appreciate every dime. It means that you care about me and what I say and how I say it, and that you enjoy the entertainment. And are you not always entertained when you're here? Okay. So now that we got that business out the way, let me celebrate the first super chat of the night from Juana Washington, who's a big supporter, okay, and out supports some of you guys who claim you got fat pockets. All right. The fellas come to talk a lot of shit on the block with Jen, but Juana's the only one that comes to talk a lot of shit and supports. All right. Well, one of the people, like I said, I appreciate you all, but Mama's happier when she's getting the super chats, right? I tend to stay longer and talk more shit, and you like it. That's why you're here. Tonight's show is going to be very, very, very interesting, but aren't all my shows. But you know, the gloves are off tonight. No gloves for me tonight. Okay. Your feelings will be hurt, but it's okay because I'm telling the truth though. Right? You guys like the truth. You loved it when Kevin Samuels said it. You love it when Ye says the truth. You guys love the truth. So I think you'll appreciate me because I tell the truth too, right? Like I said a few minutes ago, they got the truth. He got the truth. She got the truth. I got the truth. Everybody got them some truth, right? Welcome to On the Block with Jen. Welcome to my new subbies. Hi. You guys are very, 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 very brave. I'm glad to see you here. Buckle up. It gets bumpy here on the Block with Jen. I appreciate you being here, okay? For whatever reason, whether it's to look at my cleavage, my face, my funny faces, what I got to say, the way I tell people to fuck off, whatever reason you're here. Muchas gracias. Bienvenidos. Yes, speak Spanish. So Joanna Washington says, out the gate, Ye must have heard your commentary. He was specific about his beef with Jewish contracts makers. Ye loves Jewish culture. His interview with Pierce was electric. I'm glad you watched that interview, Joanna, because I do want you up here to speak on it. I watched it, I'd say maybe an hour and a half jumping in between to and fro. So I can't say I watched it straight through because there's this guy, a couple guys on YouTube, and they're looping that interview. Oh my God, it was the smartest shit fucking ever, okay? These guys made a YouTube page and they're just looping the Kanye West interview like 24 hours a day. So you could catch it at any time of the day. I know those guys are making big bank over there, okay, looping Kanye shit because Kanye's hot right now. In a couple months, probably not so much. But I love that they're capitalizing off of it. Very, very smart. It's one of those things where it's like, fuck, I wish I would have thought of that shit. So now a lot of people are catching on. It's like, let's just loop the Kanye, the Kanye fucking interview. You got to jump on it now because in a couple weeks, I got to be frank, nobody's going to give a fuck about some Kanye West. You know how this country is, celebrity worshipers, and there's always some new celebrity doing some stupid shit, right? So it's always who got next, who got next, who got next. Okay, so I am going to bring up, I'm going to tell you what I think, and then I'm going to bring up my people. I see Joanna and Brother Ish. Hello.
Hey,
Hi,
hey,
everybody.
hey. Peace,
I'm going to have to mute somebody. I hear some background. Hey.
I'm driving.
Peace. Good to hear from
I'm
you,
in the
Joanna.
car. It's pretty loud.
Okay, it's cool. Just keep your window closed and your AC off, and we got you. And we got No Saint. All right, guys, let's get this party started. I'm going to tell you what I feel, right? Okay, the topic for tonight. Thank you so much for that generous super chat, Joanna. I appreciate you. The topic for tonight is, what's your real beef with the Jews? What's your real beef with the Jews, right? Because Kanye started a little snowball, okay? And now it's turning into a blizzard. How's it turning into a blizzard? The Nazis threw a banner over a bridge in LA that said Kanye is right. And they're giving you the Hitler signs out there, right? Okay. Had it not been for, I like the phrase, had it not been for the scandal with Kanye West talking about the Jewish people, they would have never been able to throw that banner over the bridge that said Kanye was right, right? So there is a ripple effect. Let's not pretend there isn't, right? Now, some people are saying, well, Kanye wasn't up on that bridge. They did that on their own. It's the same thing that happened with the Capitol, right? Trump didn't run into the Capitol, did he? But are we going to deny that he put the batteries up in the backs of those idiots and blew smoke up so far up their ass? It gave them the courage and the cojones to run up in there. They stole our vote, right? Things have a ripple effect. Let's not act like human beings are not fucking cattle. All of a sudden, we forgot that human beings are cattle. When you go to any concert, there's one person on stage and 30,000 people in the audience. That means that one person can have power over 30,000 people with the melody. Let's not act like human beings are cattle all of a sudden, right? So what Kanye West is saying is having a ripple effect. Now here's what I think. What's your real beef with the Jews? Are you mad at the Jewish people and how they do business? Or are you really mad at the lack of unity in our community? Bars. Are you really mad at the Jews, or are you mad at the lack of unity in our community? What do I mean by that? Kanye's hella mad at the contracts that the Jewish people give actors and singers and rappers. Hella mad. And he wants to bring awareness, not because we've never heard that before. We've never heard that from Malcolm X, Farrakhan, and this one and that one, and Ice Cube. And we've never heard that before, right? Never. This is a new idea. Kanye is just he's rebirthing all of us, and we're like, we've never heard that the Jews own everything and run everything. We've never heard that till Kanye said it, right? I don't know. It's new again. What's old is new again, thanks to the internet. So there's one thing, and then I'll pass the mic. But I want to make clear there's one thing that Kanye West said on a 2-hour interview with Piers Morgan. He said, I envy the Jewish people. Did you hear that? Kanye West said, I envy the Jewish people. They're not killing each other like, we're doing in Chicago, right? They stick together, right? And I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he was saying. He did say, I envy them, right? So what's your real beef with the Jews? Are you mad that they run everything? Or are you mad that you don't have the unity in your community, right? To get together, even when you become millionaires and billionaires, to join together and run your own shit the way the Jewish people do it. It's a bizarre argument to me. You're mad at the plug, basically. That's what it is. You cannot move like the plug moves. You can't make money like the plug makes because you are not the plug. You are a subordinate. That's how I feel about these Jewish people who people keep talking about run media and music and whatever. If I own this bitch, you come work for me. I give you a contract. You can take it or not. It is up to you. I am not forcing you. I am not in shackles. But if this is my house, the house always wins, bitch. So I don't get it. I don't get the vitriol. And I certainly don't get people saying, well, there's no way Kanye could be anti-Semitic because the blacks were Semites and then blacks and we were the first Jews and whatever. If that's the case, then Candace Owens can't be anti-black because she's black. If that is the case, then you shouldn't have a beef with Candace Owens because it can't possibly be that she's anti-black. She's talking about her own kind. So if you're going to say, well, Kanye can't be anti-Semitic, he's a Jew himself, then you can't be mad at Candace Owens because she's black. So she can't possibly be anti-black. If what Kanye's saying is not anti-Semitic, then what Candace Owens is saying is not anti-black. You get it? 1 + 1 = 2. So the black Jews, right? The Semites, the original, and I'm sure Brother Ish knows more about this than I do. I am not well versed in that department. But that's not who Kanye was referring to. So what the fuck does it matter? He wasn't talking about the black Semites. He wasn't talking about them. He was talking about the ones that wear the little hats and sign his checks. He's talking about the ones that are dropping him right now. Every day that passes, a new $1 billion Jewish-owned brand is dropping him, or an Italian brand, or a French brand. All the people that he worshipped, all the people that Kanye worshipped are all dropping his ass like a hot potato. Adidas is next. His agency dropped them today, right? So with that said, I'm going to pass the mic. Hi, Jemana. Hi, No Saint. I do want to pass the mic to Brother Ish because he knows about the history of anti-Semitism and that whole thing that goes on whenever someone African-American or black says something about the Jewish community and the backlash that happens. And we're seeing it again with Kanye, except Kanye wants to qualify his remarks by saying, but we're the real Semites, so I could talk about the Jewish people, except he's talking about these guys with the little hats and the curls. So, Ish, what say you? Because I got more to say, but I'm going to pass the mic. I promised I'd pass the mic early. So please enlighten us.
Peace, everybody. So I do have some knowledge. There's a great deal of information that's out there. I'll start off with citing a reference, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews.
Okay.
That is an excellent book to
You're going out.
to for people to kind of take a read and
What's
do the
the book?
okay.
Book
Can
again?
you
Can
hear
you
me?
repeat the book? Can you
Can you hear me?
repeat the book?
The book is entitled "The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews."
The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. Okay, that's a book that you should read. All right, got it.
It's in volumes, but it cites references from Jewish scholars. It's not just from like Black scholars talking about Black and Jewish history. Every reference in there primarily is reflecting the Jewish scholars. So we'll start there. It was
Hmm.
challenged, and they said they asked Minister Farrakhan, "Will you apologize for the things that you said?" He said, "When you say that these scholars are liars, then I will apologize for what I said."
What did he say?
Well, I mean, he ran through the factor of the Jewish involvement in slavery. There's many cited scenarios. The door of no return had a Star of David on it. There's many Jewish plantations that owned slaves, and the problem is that a lot of the Jewish community denies their involvement, but there's historical evidence for their involvement, and it's kind of like saying um, Jeffrey Dahmer saying, I didn't kill people. I was a part of assisted suicide for individuals, and I had a special diet program that was a fetish for me. And they're soft pedaling their involvement in a lot of situations that historically were abhorrent scenarios, and there's always this picture being painted of a minor involvement, or that it's individualistic scenarios versus collective movement and or operation.
Okay, so
Historically,
okay,
historically,
let me pause you really quickly, just so we don't get long-winded. I want to thank you so much, Necessary Evil, for the super chat. Necessary Evil says, true to form, not everyone feels compelled to post, "I support my Jewish friends," so they aren't deemed anti-Semite. As a matter of fact, Kim Kardashian, Kanye West's ex-wife, released a statement today. She wants no parts of what Kanye is saying or doing, and she supports her Jewish friends as well. So she's making sure to distance herself from that. So absolutely right, Necessary Evil. Everybody's like, hey, not me, not I, not us, right? Ish. We're Black people or African people not involved in slavery.
absolutely.
Okay, continue.
So just to be very quick on that point, the African involvement in slavery was distinguishably different than the transatlantic slave trade. The African custom and social custom was, if your tribe lost a battle with us or we conquered this tribe, you were then placed in our tribe in a subservient position, but at a certain point, you were homogenized into equal membership within the tribe. You were not generation after generation after generation being abused, raped, lynched, families separated, all the kind of atrocities that were taking place in the transatlantic European slave trade. So there's a distinguishable difference in the cultural perception.
Okay, let me ask questions in between so we can all learn. So you're saying that the Jewish people of today, specifically, because we live here now, right? We're not living 400, 500 years ago. We're living here now. So are you saying that the Jewish people today that sign Kanye West checks, right, the ones that own the record labels, you're saying that they should be nailed to the cross or crucified for what the Jewish people who were responsible or partook in the slave trade back then, you're saying something should happen to these people? They should be held accountable. Is that what you're saying? Is that what Kanye's saying? Is that what the people are saying? What do they want, right? I feel like Ryan Gosling in The Notebook. What do you want? It's always my question with people. What do you want, right? You post incessantly. You comment incessantly. You complain. What do you want, right? So that's my question. What do you want in 2022 from the guy that signs the checks of the rappers? What do you want regarding slavery? What do you want? Buy the car.
Reparations.
Gossip.
I'll answer that question. Reparations. It's an example of the scenario is generational wealth. That
Okay.
this money was passed down. You have
Okay.
different companies like AIG, who and some of the other insurance companies who insured slaves and made money and profiteered. You had colleges that were funded based upon the factor of the wealth that was made from different plantations. Again, in this book you can find it, so I won't be long-winded. I will also say that through history, the stain of anti-Semitism, or the stain, has been laced upon names like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, W.E.B. Du Bois. Anyone who had stood up and challenged the authority
Mm-hmm.
has always gotten the stain of anti-Semitism. Now, what is actually anti-Semitic?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about, Kanye already stated who Semitic people are. We understand that. That's clear. But now, when you say,
but it's irrelevant, though. I want to be clear.
No, I agree. It's just stating the usage of the language. So I'm not diving into that. But when you say Jews or Jewish people run and control the entertainment industry, that's deemed an anti-Semitic statement, when it is actually a fact. When you look at many of the different large corporations that have CEOs, are run by Jewish individuals. Why? Because they lateral business opportunities, they mentor, they do many things. And of course, yes, I understand Kanye's position in saying that he envies them. But yes, we can easily dethrone them by not doing any business with them. But what happens is why it is an issue. If I choose not to do business with you, Jen, you don't sit and have predatory behavior to stop me from being able to do business with someone else. And those are the circumstances that do happen in many of the Jewish Black relationships.
Okay, fair enough. So let me say this, and then I want to pass the mic. This is good. Thank you for your knowledge of this and your information. Thank you. But I want to say this. Let's not omit that Kanye said that he admired Hitler and the Nazis way back. Let's not forget that. Let's not omit that he said he's going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. It wasn't just that he said, oh, Jewish people run the labels. Okay, let's not sugarcoat it. It's a pile of shit. Let's not sprinkle sugar on it. So he's not being called anti-Semite because he said, oh, the Jewish people own everything. He has praised Hitler. He has praised the Nazis. He said he was going to go DEFCON 3. Okay, it's causing a ripple effect. That is why they're calling him an anti-Semite, not because he said that they run the record labels. So let's not omit what was said. Okay, because that's what happens. Then the game pásalo. By the time the 10th person gets the message, it's a whole different message. But let's not forget that is what he said.
What was the quote about Hitler? I
can Google it while we pass the mic, but Van Lathan brought it up again. I can Google it while we pass the mic. Joanna, no saint. Oh, wait, and I got Big Truck backstage. How are you, everybody? Whoever wants to go next while I Google this and look at the chat real quick, please feel free to do so. Who would like to go next?
Hey, Jen, did you see the message that I sent you on Instagram about the next story that you might want to consider?
I did not, but I will take a peek, I promise.
Okay.
I'd say let Joanna go.
Yeah, let Joanna go.
Hey, Joanna, give it to me, sis. I know you got something to say on this one.
Hey, Jen and Big Truck and No Saint and Brother Ish, and to the panel, peace. To the chat, peace.
Peace.
So, what are we specifically talking about? Because Brother Ish, you were all over the place. You went into slavery. I thought we were specifically talking about, the beef between Kanye and the Jews.
Shoes.
So I want to I wanted to, if we can, and I know it's going to go all over the place, and that's fine because we get more information like that. But I want to stick to what's your real beef with the Jews. Now people are online and all over the place. They're mad that the Jewish people own everything, right? Kanye West was saying we need to see everybody's contract. We need to pull out Michael B. Jordan. He's doing what Monique did. Whenever Monique does bad business, she wants to pull other Black people into it. Like, hey guys, come join me so we could complain about how much I'm not getting paid. Right? He's doing the same thing, right? There's strength in numbers. So Kanye's doing what Monique did. Now Kanye's bringing in other Black people like, hey, let's get Michael B. Jordan's contract. Let's look at Michael B. Jordan's contract. Although Michael B. Jordan is minding his business somewhere, counting his millions, Kanye wanted to pull him into the conversation. He said, let's look at Michael B. Jordan's contract. Let's look at the NFL players' contracts, right? He wants to pull other people in so they can say, hey, yeah, me too. Hashtag me too. The Jewish people are holding my money and holding me back. Me too. So he's pulling other people into this, and it's having a snowball effect.
Okay.
Saying, look, the Jewish people are doing us wrong with these contracts. So are you mad at yourself for not having the unity in your company to make your own money? You can't be mad at the Jewish people for having unity and running shit. It's bizarre.
Now this I can speak to.
Okay, and I'll keep building this.
And this is what I appreciate about Ye's performance with Piers Morgan a couple of days ago. I said it was electric, and this is why I said it was electric. It was very profound because he touched on what Jen was saying in her last episode about this conversation. When we were talking about him offending the Jews, and then we were going back and forth about, you know, so-called Black people actually are Jews or are Semites. What Ye touched on in the Piers Morgan interview was because we were saying that he wasn't being specific enough about who exactly he was targeting. In the Piers Morgan interview, he got specific. He went to say he practically apologized to the so-called Jewish community of the world, but he still held his teeth and held their feet to the fire to a certain group of Jewish business people who are in the industry and who write up the contracts, and saying that their contracts were unfair, and they happen to be Jewish. See, but he admitted that he loves the Jewish culture, the Jewish community, the way they do things. So I think Jen's question about, do you really hate the Jews, or do you really have a beef with the Jews? Or is it that or do you hate your inability to be effective in business and community, and how your life is pretty much going in comparison to these group of people? And that's what I really was appreciative about about in that interview. You know, he's not I don't consider him a hateful person. I think that, you know, he really got to the nitty gritty about what he was trying to convey. The issue is with the contracts that he felt is unfair, and this is where I disagree with him, because I come from a very conservative view. If it's someone's contract, you're coming to them, and they're offering you in return a contract. You don't have to do business with them. This is their house. This is their stuff. Like Jen said, the house always wins. What I would like to hear Ye do more of is like the notion of buying the parlor, him being in control, the notion of you know, owning his own stuff, him being in control. But see, when you're complaining about someone's contract being unfair, it already signifies that you're in a inferior position. You should be the one offering the contract, not the one who's having to sign a contract, which is something that he could easily do. He could easily put himself in a position of power. He could easily start his own bank. He doesn't have to deal with JP Morgan Chase. He doesn't have to deal with, you know, Adidas or Gap or whatever. And this is what someone on a radio show, I think it was Sway or something, when Ye was on there a few years ago complaining. There's a lot of complaining. He's on there complaining about what people wouldn't let him do. And the guy Sway said, well, why don't you start your own? You can do this for yourself. And Ye was like, oh, you don't understand. You don't understand. But look at him now. he started, promoting his own thing and doing his own thing. Him getting canceled, his music venues getting canceled. That's, it's really kind of weird because he has the money to own his own venues where he can perform. He doesn't have to go around being canceled. So it's kind of like a touch and go, a confusing message that he's sending out to the people. It's almost like he wants people to be on his side, but he's not really leading the people in the right direction all the way, because the right direction is to be completely independent of all these other entities. So you don't have to come off being envious, or you don't have to come off being hateful. Um, so that's my take on that. I love when he called Pierce Morgan a boy on the show. I really love that. That really lit a fire under me. Not because I'm a hateful person, but because I like people who get up and say what they want to freaking say, regardless. About the slavery thing, Jewish people, regardless if they participated in it or not, historically, all people participated in some form of slavery. And as far as where it began, as far as the transatlantic slave trade, it started with Africans. They sold their people, regardless if they stole them or those people were captive in war or not. They sold them to the Europeans. And it was really funny about it is they traded or sold them for silly things like mirrors, uh, hairbrushes, umbrellas, beads, alcohol, guns, blankets, silly shit. So if you're gonna point out somebody, everybody's got a finger pointing out, but there's always three more coming back. And with so-called black people, what we really have a hard time doing is recognizing the three that's coming back when we point the finger out. Um, uh, Chattel slavery, as opposed juxtaposed to the other kind of slavery that Ish was talking about, that's debatable. The point of the matter is these were human beings. They were sold by their own people.
Right.
And if you're gonna, and to your other thing, Jen, about I think you were saying something about people being anti-Semitic, and then like saying or anti-black. See, people, so-called black people, don't like some of them, not all, don't appreciate Candace Owens. And then yeah, you're right, they would call her anti-black, and you just pointed out how ridiculous that is. Just like it was ridiculous for them to some people to call you racist when you have African, DNA running through your veins. It's like people just want to not like a person, and they call you names when they don't like the things that are coming out of your mouth.
Right.
And that's the issue. So I'm gonna stop right there because I don't want to go too long. There's other people on the panel.
So I just wanted to respond to Brother Ish. What it was during a TMZ interview with Van Lathan, and he told Van Lathan that he loved Hitler and he loved the Nazis. They took that part out of the interview, but Van Lathan did respond to him about how many people died during the Holocaust and what have you. But that was taken out of a TMZ interview. I think the way things are going, it probably will be leaked, because everybody's trying to nail Kanye to the cross now. So it probably will be leaked, but it's something that he said to Van Lathan during a TMZ interview. And I agree with you, Joanna. It's like, okay, well, no, they were, to go back to what you said, what Brother Ish was saying, it's like slavery light, right? It's like light beer. It's like, oh no, we didn't abuse these people. We just kept them if you lost, right? You're still, like you said, holding human beings beyond their will, right? What happens later, but you're still taking human bodies and saying, I'm going to do what I want with this human body. You guys come over here because your people lost the war. So I agree with you 100%. I do think it's more of an envy thing, just like Kanye said out his own mouth, right? I envy the Jewish people and they're not killing each other in Chicago and blah, blah, blah. I do like certain things that he says. I just think he's the wrong person to say it. I'm thinking if there was, a man of like a Jay-Z or a Robert Smith or, someone who was stoic calling Chris Morgan a boy, it would have been more impactful. But Kanye just looks like a crazy person. Whether or not you think he's crazy is not relevant to what I'm saying right now. He just looks like a crazy person. So when he calls Piers Morgan a boy, it didn't have the impact that it would have had if it was a man, you know what I'm saying, very stoic, wealthy businessman saying, watch your mouth with me, boy. To me, that would have been different than some crazy person is like Kim Kardashian, she's naked and this and that, and the outer space and the spaceships and and that's is that a dog over there running? Don't call me boy. I'm gonna call you boy. Like it just looked silly, right? It just looked like Kanye being silly. And then you have the white man across him, Piers Morgan, who was very stoic, right? And didn't get upset. It was like, don't call me boy. You know what I mean? So it didn't have the impact that it could have had it been someone else saying it. It just looked like Kanye being Kanye, right? It didn't have the impact that it has when a white person calls a black person a boy, in my opinion. Would have had more of an impact if Kanye didn't act the ass half the time. And I'll pass the mic while I'm looking up this other thing. No Saint would say you.
Hey, how you doing tonight, Jen, Joanna, Big Truck? And also, the it's not racially charged when you call a white person a boy, so it doesn't. It's like most racial terms that are used towards white people really don't have the same effect just because there's not that same history in this country, right?
But I still think he should have went with cracker or honky or something.
Well, even that doesn't. To me, honky's funny. Cracker's funny.
I mean, yeah, but why would he do that if Piers Morgan didn't say anything like that to him, though?
A crave cricket something. A cave cricket.
But you know what? You're funny. I believe it or not, I walked past for the first time I was in New Orleans. I walked past ISUPK. I've never seen him in New Orleans before. So first thing I said was, "Where's Captain Desariag?" "What you know about Captain Desariag?" I was like, "Man, I know all about it. What's your nationality?" I said, "Man, you ain't catching me with that." I said, "I got Asher, right? My Colombian wife. I got Asher right here." "Oh, you married to Asher?" I knew all their it's funny to me. But I'm a non-believer, right? So I can call it funny. So I want to bring something up. Ish is gone, but so I mentioned this. I mentioned this last time. So like in 1933, Hitler put out this thing that there's no work for the Jews in the film industry. Now the film industry was top notch in Germany. It was like on par with what Hollywood is. So they ran them all out. They ran 2,000 different people in the film industry to Hollywood. So then Hollywood becomes this great movie. The war ends, the big vacuum in power, United States top or whatever. And then Hollywood makes all these blockbuster films with the help of Jewish people. So when you say there's some disproportion in numbers. Maybe I would have to see what the population of the Jewish people are in the United States, but they don't run everything. But yeah, they do have a good representation, and there is nepotism. But at the same time, it's like, okay, let's say my dad is I don't know what's a white basketball player, Dirk Nowitzki or something like that, and he says he can get me a tryout at an NBA team. Guess what? If I suck, they're not going to put me on the court. They're not going to give me a contract, right? I mean, my point is, you still have to be really good to be running these top positions. It's not like they get it given to them and it's all easy. No, the people that are in. So I admire, because it's not just the Nazis, Germany, that wasn't the first time that Jews were attacked in Europe. There's a huge history, and there's a huge history of them being forced to be bankers. It wasn't like, oh, let's all be bankers. No, that was the only thing they could do in Europe at one time. So, and another thing is, not all Jewish people are rich.
Right.
Of course. And you got to look at, like, let's say Howard Stern. He was making like $26 a week. He worked his way up. Now he's making 100 million. You can't be mad at that. I just think and as far as Joanna's conservative and I'm not, but I do agree with her that nobody forces you to sign a contract. You make a decision. And if it's a bad contract, you stick with it. Ask Ricky Williams, the running back who had Master P as his agent, how that worked out, how that contract looked. He chose a rapper to be his contract, his agent, and it was a bad contract that eventually, when he got traded to Miami, they redid it for him, but it was bad. So, I mean, you got to take that kind of responsibility. As far as what Kanye, I think there's a big movement. And, you know, Joanna kind of, I know she says she's not a Hebrew Israelite and she's not a 5%er and all that stuff, but she does have some of the rhetoric I've noticed.
What's the rhetoric?
Oh, the whole, you know, this whole Semite thing, the whole, you can't be like last time you're talking about, we're not Semites. And I mean, we can't be anti-Semite because we are Semite. I don't know. And like I said last time, maybe, you know, maybe everything the ISUPK says, I don't. Well, first of all, I know all the Hebrew Israelites. I've already been on debates, seen debates, and their history gets poked holes in all the time. But what they call their history, no, the whole we are the real Jews. That kind of sounds Hebrew Israelite to me.
I never said we're the real Jews. I did say that so-called black people are Semites. That's the definition from the European dictionary.
Okay.
So that's not necessarily.
But does that mean all black people on the continent of Africa are Semites?
According to the definition, according to the etymology of the word, there's dating back to, and this is where we're gonna, you know, cross each other, because I understand that you guys are secular. You don't, you know, follow the Bible or anything, but all those things that the Bible speaks of takes place in a land where the people were dark skinned. You know,
I don't disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you there at all.
They're Ethiopians today, and majority of them are dark skinned, and they're Jewish by faith.
No, I don't disagree with you there, but Africa is huge, and it's the most diverse place in the world. That's why I said you think all Africans are Semites.
Now when I say that, I don't say that they consider themselves that, but I'm saying that is the European definition of what it is. People who look like myself.
Okay. So let me
and people who look, and not like myself. Jen has a lot of color to her. She would be considered a Semite.
That's very Hebrew Israelitish, but
all right. So
and I don't know any Hebrew Israelite talking points. I'm just getting this from a European definition.
Okay, so let me pause real quick. Thank you for the super chat, Don Levon. He says, my thing is Kanye agreed to do business with the Jews and then want to complain about doing business with Jewish people. He knew how the Jews did their business before signing those contracts. That's another thing. Spoke about the Jewish contracts has been around since I've been a little girl. Also about bad contracts, going to something back to what you said, No Saint. Diddy is infamous in the music business for having the worst contracts. Okay, they call him Big Red from 5 Heartbeats. If you guys have seen 5 Heartbeats, they call him Big Red from 5 Heartbeats. So it's not just the Jewish people. It's like somebody said in the chat, no matter who's giving out the contract, it's going to be a biased contract. If you want a fair contract, sign with your grandmama, sign with your mama. The house always wins. So that I don't understand. Another beef I have too, that he's talking about, oh, these rappers are mad, even down from Ice Cube or whoever's running the record labels, these Jewish people who are running the record labels. I find it ironic that they're mad, right? And I spoke with Brother Ish about this earlier. The rappers are mad that they're not getting more money, right, to make their culture a degenerate culture. Think about that for a minute. People give them more money, okay, to degenerate their culture. Pay me more money to promote this liquor to my people. Pay me more money to promote these drugs to my people. Pay me more money, Jewish person, to promote that the women in our communities are bitches and hoes and sluts. Pay me more money so I can spray this champagne on these black women in the video. Pay me more money, Jewish person. To me, it is laughable. It's all corrupt and it's all fucked up. These rappers don't want more money to save their community. They want more money to bury their community even further. I find that ironic. And then they get mad that the Jewish people stick together and say, you're not going to fuck with us. You're not going to talk about us sideways. You're not talking about us. And you sure as hell not talking about our women. I think that's really the problem. So when I ask, what are you really mad at? I think it goes back to what Kanye said with Piers Morgan. I envy the Jewish people. I envy how they stick together. I envy that they're not killing each other. I think therein lies the meat and potatoes of the real issue. It's not that they run everything. It's that you can't. You hate your own people. You hate your own
And the
people.
same thing goes with so-called black people in America.
And you do it to a hip hop beat. You hate
So
your own
can-
people to a hip hop
I
beat.
say to
can I-
say to black people in America, I question this. I made a Facebook post about 2 years ago, and I was almost ran off out of Facebook. I said hey, black people, do you really hate white people, or do you just really hate your inability to make effective change in your life? And they blew up my page. They're so but my question is, I don't really think you really hate white people the way you say you do. What I think is that you haven't figured out how to compete. You haven't figured out how to not be walking around with your hand out. You're not you haven't figured out how to maintain your own families and your own culture. That's what I think you're angry about.
That's a good call.
I would like to actually step in on this
I'm
point.
sorry.
And really, no, I really got to step in right there and just say this,
because I didn't get a chance to.
we're kicking the can down the road, but I just wanted to. Well, go ahead. I'll be deferential. Go ahead. This is Jen's house, and we gotta be respectful, and I can't put my feet on the carpet.
Let me pass the mic to people who haven't spoken yet. And welcome, Miss Polly. Good to see you, lady.
Well, yes, lovely to see you too, guys.
Hello.
Okay.
What you got?
Yeah, so actually, Jen, that little that rant that you just did was actually pretty freaking accurate. And I also gotta kind of agree with Joanna, because I was pretty much thinking the exact same thing. The issue that you're ultimately seeing is, and Kanye West basically said it himself, envy, jealousy, and ultimately, there's a lot of sloth wrapped into that too. And that thing that you were saying about rappers, that is so true, because the reality is, first of all, they just want more money because they want to be able to flash more money and flex more money, right? They want to be able to buy more cars and to throw more money in the air and all that bullshit. But the reality is they're not making any money right now. They're spending all their money into debt. And the reason why is because nobody's buying albums for the most part. These kids are stealing their music. They're not buying albums. They have to do tours after tours after tours. But you know what? That's besides the point. As far as this whole Kanye thing, I'm glad that he's making the move to actually start buying media, just like Elon Musk said. Elon Musk said, listen, as much money as I've got, fuck your cancel culture. I'll buy you out, and there'll be nothing you can do about it. In that respect, I totally agree with Kanye West. Now, as far as this whole thing about the anti-Semitic remarks, first of all, the moment I heard that, I'm like, yo, you idiot. It's not DEFCON 3. It's DEFCON 1. Defense Condition 1 means that you're at war or maximum readiness. And that just goes to show you that a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing.
Right.
My only thing is where we divert. First of all, I don't buy any of his products. I don't support him. I don't appreciate the way he does business. I don't care what color he is. I just don't like his business. So my thing is, he could, as far as saying whatever you want, in your Instagram, I put a link to, I put 2 links, but I put one that I really want you to listen to. Patrice O'Neal Breaks Down Hollywood. And I don't think you probably ever heard that before, the whole thing, but I want you to listen to it if you get a chance. Do it in the shower, whatever. But it's brilliant. And, he's not around anymore. But the reality is, Kanye West has made enough money where he can basically say, fuck you. And he's made enough, they're estimating like 4 to 6 billion, right? So he's basically made enough money where at this point he thinks he could do and say whatever he wants to anybody he feels like doing and saying it to. Most of these people who get hit by cancel culture, they ain't got that kind of money. They may have a couple of million, they may have a couple of 100,000, but they ain't got like $4 or $6 billion. So Kanye is at the point where he thinks he could just say anything. So immediately they've got to take him down because he's betraying his position in the beast. When you listen to that clip, you'll know what I'm talking about. He's betraying his position. He's like Mel Gibson. He's betraying the position that they, quote unquote, gave him, or they allowed him to get that far. He's not rapping about Jesus and he ain't doing none of that no more. At this point, they feel that they got to take him down. They have to do it publicly. They can't kill him, but they have to do it publicly. They have to do these cancel culture things brutally. So in that respect, I stand with him. So if him and Elon Musk, Donald Trump, if they don't like this cancel culture and they want to make it so that they can create organizations or that they can create panels and such that nobody can fuck with, go ahead and spend your money. Personally, I enjoy watching Zuckerberg lose all his money. I enjoy it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to see Twitter go too. But in that respect, yeah, I like your rant. In fact, maybe you should go a little deeper on that on another show. In fact, like if you do another show. These rappers are poison to the community, and I've been disgusted with them for a very long time. And I agree with Joanna, what she was saying. A lot of these people are jealous, and a lot of them are envious, especially, and even whites, specifically Hitler. And this was one of the things, the reason why when you study Nazi Germany, one of the reasons why they hated Jews so much is because they couldn't infiltrate them and they couldn't split them up and they couldn't break them up. These people have intact family structures. They don't let any of this liberal bullshit that they're kicking to the rest of us get in there and tear them up. They're Ezekiel knows what a man's role is. Miriam knows what a female's role is. I said Miriam. Miriam knows what a female's role is. They're not letting this liberal shit that they're kicking to your kids. They're not letting this shit tear them up. But they keep them every Saturday around here. Lights are off Friday at 5, and everybody's walking the temple. And they control their neighborhood. They got fake ambulances that'll turn their lights on. You think it's a real ambulance. You think it's FDNY. Next thing you know, they got their own ambulances for their own people. They got their own cops for their own people. They got their own schools. Right now, New York City's trying to break up their yeshivas. Because, you're not teaching enough liberal education. Their kids are learning. Their kids are doctors. Their kids are your doctors and your lawyers. And you're telling me they're not teaching well enough? So I already see what it is. I don't know if this jealousy and envy, I don't know if this distrust and hatred was something left over from the Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Farrakhan days. Maybe it is. I don't know. But the reality is, I'll agree with Joanna, and that's the last thing I'll say. If blacks would start acting more like them, blacks wouldn't have the problems blacks are having right now.
Facts.
There you go.
So thank you, Big Chuck. So before I pass the mic to Miss Polly, I wanted to say that about and I lost my thoughts, so Miss Polly, you take it. But I wanted to say something after Big Chuck that struck me, but
do it right now.
If I could forget.
We got time.
It was something. This is what I wanted to say. When you say about Kanye, it's like, okay, he kind of like turned their back. He kind of like turned his back and said a fuck you to all the people that put him there. Do you think that they would be doing that if he wasn't doing all this stupid shit? And also, yes, he's a multi-billionaire, right? So he boasts. But now that all those billion-dollar companies have left him and his dick out to dry.
Still got his money, though.
Everybody, right? He still got his money. But in order to be, what you're saying, a media powerhouse, he's going to have to put all his money in. No one's fucking with Kanye.
He doesn't have to put it all in, but I'll say this. So that you fully understand what I'm saying, listen to that full link, Patrice O'Neal Explains Hollywood. I said specifically, Kanye has betrayed his position in the beast. If you listen to that I swear to God, it's hilarious. But if you listen to it, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying.
Trust me, it's easy to understand. I know exactly what that means. What I'm saying is he's going to have to now use his money, because even the other people that are quote unquote free thinkers and free speakers like Trump is saying that Negro too crazy. Trump did the same thing with Truth Social. So I know, but they don't want to fuck. He doesn't want to fuck with Kanye. He's already distancing himself from Kanye. My question is, what other billionaire is going to collab with Kanye?
Well, Jen, when you've got, Jen, when you've got billions of dollars, it don't take $1 billion to build a Facebook. The issue is you start small. Yeah, see, that's the problem. No, it's just like all these people constantly complaining, oh, the Jews control all the banks. Well, why don't y'all put your money together and build a fucking
and create your own?
Or how about
now you're asking Black people to be Jewish?
No, yes. Let me tell you something. I've got my Manischewitz.
And I said that to Ish.
Yeah, no.
I asked Ish, hey, Big Truck, on Jen's last topic on this subject, I asked Brother Ish Muhammad. I said, Brother Ish, how freaking awesome and just, compelling if so-called Black people in America flip the switch and automatically converted to what their traditional faith is, which is Judaism.
Well, no, but here's the thing.
And even Brother Ish said that would be profound.
Well, but
it would turn the United States on its head.
But hold on, we've already seen what happens when Blacks go that route. It's the Nation of Islam. When you see these Nation of Islam, the way that they have their traditional marriage and the way that they have these brothers in suits selling stuff on the corner in order to build money and this, that, and other. The Jews do the exact same thing. In fact, they operate banks. They operate no-interest banks and this, that. They do the exact same thing. The only thing about it is one's Islam and the other one's Jewish. But the point is, I'm not saying Blacks got to change their religion. I'm saying they got to change their freaking behavior.
How they move. Yes.
Yeah, well, they got to change their behavior.
Let me respond.
One second. Having, and I'll let it go. But having family structures that are not intact don't work in your favor. Having children that have no sense of where they're going, or illegitimate children, and you can't leave behind generational wealth because you have no idea where it's going to be a generation or two. One thing I got to say about the Jews, they got intergenerational wealth locked down. They got family structure locked down. They have their education system locked down. They have their communities locked down. And that's the reason why everybody hates them, because they can't break it up. They can't infiltrate it. Go ahead.
Before you respond, Ish, I just wanted to respond to Big Truck and Joanna. It would be great, but there's way too much Fendi, Gucci, Prada,
Fendi,
and Louis Vuitton and red bottoms to be bought, and there's too many diamonds to be bought, right?
Jen, you got to say Beamer, Benz, or Bentley. Beamer, Benz, or Bentley, Gucci, Prada, Femi. You got to sing the song.
Okay, well, all of that. Okay, there's too much of that to be bought for Black people to be worried about taking over banks and media and shit like that, because there's too much money that has to be given to Gucci, Prada, and Fendi, and Louis Vuitton, and red bottoms.
Oh, well, Jen, are Blacks still going to buy Balenciaga now that they kicked Kanye to the fucking side? Are they going to still buy Balenciaga?
Yes,
I never would buy that ugly shit.
Yes, they are.
They are? Okay.
We're going to buy Balenciaga.
I'm not.
Because they have to show that they got money. And how else do Black people show they got money if they don't buy Balenciaga?
Air Jordans.
Can I respond? Can I get some? Can I just at least? I don't want us to kick the can so far down the lane that I'm speaking about points that are.
Can you do me a favor and hold on?
Spoken of 20 minutes ago.
I know. I love you. I appreciate you, but I really don't want to keep going over Miss Polly, because she has been sitting there very patient and very beautiful. And I would like her to say what she wants to say. She came up here. I appreciate when the ladies come up. Miss Polly, you got the mic.
Hi there. So I got good evening. Yeah, and I don't always get the chance to hop on here, Jen. So I try my best to catch her when she's on, because I don't always get a chance to, because I like her topics, and I really like to have a conversation. So, but I will say, just in general, because I'm more into like human behavior and culture, and so I think with him though, Kanye. For him, I just think that this is just funny to watch how people really kind of like take what he says very seriously. And the only reason I'm saying this is because this man has mental illness. This point blank. I'm gonna be honest. He's probably, from what I can see, he looks like a schizophrenic, paranoid schizophrenic, point blank to me. And so when it's just that people have now seen that he's had these breakdowns. He's in this bad mental place, and when he has his episodes, he's very public with it. But we're dealing with someone who has a lot of mental illness, and he has also a lot of money. So it's like, once again, I've heard people just say it. So then it makes him feel like he can say whatever he wants, and there's no consequence for anything he does. He has no one to answer to, and now he feels like he says, he feels like he's God or whatever, because there is a place where no one can like step to him and say no. And so when Jewish people are banding together and saying, hey, you know what, this is not cool, man, this man's tripping, which he is in general, usually has his outbursts and act up. I think has to be something that has to be done to let him know, hey, like he gets checked, basically. So that's just weird to me that when I keep hearing his name come up and these, things he keeps going in these rants and things like that. It's like, it's sad for me to watch someone in mental illness and people think it is him as a person, but that's mental illness. So I don't even take it to that, extent where it's like, oh, it's bothering me that bad. That's someone who's literally not in the right place mentally. But when it comes to, our community, I do agree with you guys too, about, Black Americans are different from everyone else. We're not Africans. We're not Chinese, because everywhere else they have this group mentality. We were taken here and we were taken away from our culture and our identity. And so when you separate that, we were just learning to do these things, and we weren't grown up to collab with each other. There's different tribes and things like that. So like when all the Africans came together, they're not all from Africa. That's what's funny to be like, oh, I'm from Africa. There's different places, different, identities. They're not all the same. And so you put all these people in a place and then tell them to, hey, bond together, and they don't. And you're right. Like, they don't have that group mentality with other places. They do. Mexicans, they come here, they group mentality. They've gone and surpassed us. Chinese people come over here, gold rush, surpass us. They're doing things in this group mentality that most other places do that we don't have. So I think African Americans have this issue where we need to find a way to bond, that we are all one, and find that unity that we don't have. So without this unity, we're always battling each other. We're always trying to outdo each other. And then we're trying to find who's the person who's doing that to us. And then we're blaming white people, Jewish people. And that's not the real issue. We don't bond together as a group. We don't unite as one. And then we also don't unite in our family either. Like, usually you see, we're just like individually we're never a group in anything. And so I don't see how we can progress when we're always battling each other, down to just, oh, you're lighter than me, you're darker than me. When you go to other places, you don't see Puerto Ricans. I'm not saying they don't do that, but they bond together when it means something. We don't have that here. And so I agree with you guys. You don't see that bonding. We bonded like that, I think it would be a total different story. I think we would be progressing a lot faster. We wouldn't have as many crazy things going on because we would be a group united, standing against things that we don't believe are right. But we don't have that. So I guess the question is, how do we change that?
So before I pass the mic back to Brother Ish, I want to say I agree with you, Ms. Polly. I think that now I do want to use this because I don't want motherfuckers in my comments crying all the fucking time. But Black people do unite, I noticed, but it's for entertainment purposes.
Yes.
You got the BET Awards, you got the Griot Awards now, you got the NAACP. But like for things like that, glitz and glamour, I do notice there's more unity. When it comes to important things like community, they do not. They got the light skin, dark skin. And whenever there's any sort of bashing of any other ethnicity going on, if you notice, what Black people do is make them their enemy too, right? Like when the Asians were getting beat up. Yeah, but the Asians been beating on us. When the Mexicans were getting beat up, yeah, but the Mexicans be beating on us too. So fuck them. There ain't no black-brown coalition. Like they cut off their nose to spite their face, right? Everyone else is the enemy, plus the white man, plus the Jews. When you make yourself the victim of everybody,
thank you, Jen.
Of everybody.
Say that louder.
Everybody's victimizing you. Even the people that come here poor, the Mexicans, the Hondurans, the people that come here poor and wait at Home Depot for you to pick them up.
Africans.
So plaster your wall. They're your enemy too. Everybody's your enemy. The Asians are your enemies. The white people are your enemies. The Jewish people are your enemies. Now the Puerto Ricans are your enemies in hip hop because they didn't create hip hop. And now the Jewish people, everybody's your enemy. Everybody.
Don't forget the Africans.
Yeah. You're never gonna get anybody's enemy. Like no one can go through anything without this insertion of, yeah, but look how they doing us. The Asians are fucking with y'all too now. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like there's so much work to be done. It seems like it's never getting done. But I will say, there's a huge demographic as well. Let's not ignore there's a huge demographic of Black people that are saying, fuck y'all down there. I ain't playing that game. And they doing them and they're becoming wealthy. Okay. And they're owning shit. And
Facts.
they're banding together. And they're banding together.
Facts.
So it's not, it ain't, okay. Okay. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of people in the Black community divesting from a certain sect of Black Americans.
Yep. And I salute them and I encourage it. Get away from the people that are the victims of everybody. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you, Ms. Polly. The unity, like I said, my topic, what is your real beef? Are you mad at the Jewish people or are you mad that there's no unity in our community? Brother Ish, you were saying.
When it was stated earlier that I was all over the place, my attempt was to contextualize the discrepancy between Blacks and Jews. Again, it's a long-standing, comprehensive issue. When you don't have comprehensive knowledge on certain subject matters, then when Kanye was saying, or Ye was saying, when he was telling Sway you don't understand, what he was not articulating is that there are mechanisms in place, industries that are in place, that even though you may be a startup, you're going to run into a wall somewhere in the manufacturing side. So if you don't have a relationship with this person or that person, you can't do business. And then if you have to sit down here and say, okay, well, I'm going to be a fashion designer and I'm going to design my clothes, but now you're blocked out of the ability to promote your clothing in the top name fashion shows, or in the magic show where it's going to be distributed, because you don't have the right relationships or the right representation. That happens to many of the artists. You can make a record, you can sell it out of your trunk, but at a certain point, you can't get on the radio, or you can't get into get it synced onto a film because you don't have the right lawyer, or you don't have the right agent as an actor. There are different mechanisms that are in place within all of these industries that have strong Jewish influence and control that block you out. The story about Octavia Butler, who was a Black author who was blocked out of all of her deals, was one of the most prolific science fiction authors. All of her deals were blocked out, or what they call the kibosh. Now, I know this for the fact because I know the individual who is over her estate. And when she finally passed away, and all these potential films and all these narratives that were supposed to be created didn't happen, he went to his Jewish individuals in the industry and said, what is wrong? Why can we not get these deals done? And they said, because there is a kibosh on her. And they went through a whole process. Now, I know this for an actual fact. I'll tell you another one. Sylvia Rhone, record company executive, was sitting down with her A&R, and he said he presented 2 acts. One act was a positive conscious rapper that was equally skilled, and the other one was a gangster rapper talking negative filth. They both had a long lunch talking about how we've got to do more for the community and more for our people and the whole nine. And so then at the end of the meeting, the end of the lunch, he said, okay, so I guess we're going to sign the more conscious rapper. And she said, no, we're not. We're going to sign this gangster rapper because he makes more money. That's a real conversation. That's not speculated. That's not something that I just kind of guessed. I know that for a fact, okay? So when we talk about the problem, yes, we are a problem in our own community. Yes, but we also, we're blocked out of the opportunities that exist, or the abilities to grow and on an entrepreneurial independent side. You get to a certain degree, and then somebody comes to you with a bag after you've done all this work and say, look, we're going to buy you out and make your job a whole lot easier. Everyone's going to take that opportunity. So it's not just factor that, there's some sort of envy and jealousy, and there are aspects of that. Yes, that's true. But that's not the root reason why Black people are not successful. There are areas where they're being blocked out, and that's where Kanye is expressing. When you get to a certain point as a billionaire, you're not going to sit up there and then have to build a manufacturing plant and then hire all these people, and you don't have any experience in this realm. All you have is design ideas. So then you're going to have to do business with somebody, and those are the individuals that you got to go back to that are Jewish. And I know for another fact, Carl Kanye, fashion designer, he had to go through other manufacturers to be able to distribute on a larger scale. But what was happening was the Jewish manufacturers were backdooring his clothes. So then he had to hire the Nation of Islam, ergo my company, I'm in the Nation of Islam, and hire us to secure his plants to make sure that there were no boxes going out at night or special shipments that were happening backdooring his clothes. So there are a lot of like I say, mechanisms in place to maintain and establish control and squash our ability to grow. That's all.
Okay,
Can I say something?
Wait, let me respond to that really quickly.
It goes back to me after him, though, guys.
I will. I have to acknowledge this. Thank you. Can I get some podcasts? He says, can we just dab circle? Guys, you have to watch my last stream, Freaky or Fraud. I was asking the guys a lot of questions about sex. I'm not going to tell you what dab circle means. You guys have to look at it yourself. So watch my last stream, Freaky or Fraud. Okay. Thank you for that commercial break. Can I get some podcasts? Also, someone said in the chat, Anthony Jones said, yup, they all practice anti-Black hate. Black people practice anti-Asian hate, anti-Mexican hate, anti-Puerto Rican hate. They also practice anti-Black hate. If we want to use the word anti, okay? Let's keep it 100. Black people are very anti their own people according to complexion. There's a lot of colorism within the own community, okay?
Absolutely.
Right? They're beating up on Mexicans. They bashing Puerto Ricans. They talking about Asians. Everybody's anti in this bitch. This is what I talked about on a couple streams ago. Everybody is anti something, but Black people have the shield of we were oppressed and we were slaves, so we can say and do whatever the fuck we want to do. And that is what we're watching with Kanye West. I can talk about whoever the fuck I want to talk about because we were oppressed. It does not work that way. You cannot use the shield that you were a victim to victimize other people. And you can quote me on that. You cannot use the shield of being a victim to victimize other people. Comprende? So for all the people that saying, you're anti-us, remember, who are you fucking anti? Because I can show you comments on comments on comments where Black people are berating Mexican, using emojis, using the swimming emoji to call them wetbacks, using the taco emoji to call them Mexican. So let's stop fucking being cowards about the word anti and the word hate. Say it with your fucking dick swinging. Stop being punks and hiding behind, but we were slaves and we were oppressed. People are now trying to be the new oppressors, and you cannot hide behind that you're also victimized. What the fuck is that about? It's like a victim of a bully now wanting to be a bully. That's not how it works. You will get your ass beat over and over and over again. So to go back to what you said, Ish, that was very, very interesting to me. You were saying real stories. So you have a point. Sylvia Rohn, Carl Kanye, blah, blah, blah. First of all, Dapper Dan ripped off all the fucking French and Italian designers and made a mint. A Black man in Harlem, okay? So it's not just Jewish people that do it. Made a fucking mint, okay? Dapper Dan made a fucking mint cutting up Gucci shit, MCM, Louis Vuitton, Fendi, lest we forget. And that's what I'm talking about. That everybody given the opportunity is wetting their beak somewhere else, right? Now, with everything you said about Sylvia Rohn and Carl Kanye, all of that is legitimate. It is true. It happens. People are getting fucked in the ass with contracts, no Vaseline, right? But let me flip it on you. You said you're part of the NOI. A white man or Asian comes into the NOI to work with you. He wants the same exact benefits that you all get as part of the NOI, as part of being Black man, you gonna give him an equal piece? You gonna give that white boy an equal piece of the NOI? You're gonna embrace him and say, you know what? Just because you want to join us, we're giving you an equal piece. Are you gonna do that?
The principles of the NOI are freedom, justice, and equality. We had multicultural employees. We had Latins, Asians, and Arabs that worked for the Nation of Islam Security Agency. No. I'm giving you this. I'm giving
about people that you put in a suit and give final calls to sell on the highway.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I said we owned a security company. We had a security company where we had HUD contracts, where we had private security, personal and commercial properties. We had award show contracts. We hired anyone who was capable.
Don't divert. I'm not talking about hiring subordinates and how you treat someone who comes to work for you. I am talking about the fucking suits in the NOI. If a white man came in to work with the suits, I'm not talking about the minions. Of course, you're gonna hire every minion who wants to stand up. Of course you do. If I own a company, I'm going to be all inclusive too. Black, white, Asian, yellow, blue, green, transgender. You want to come in a dick on your forehead and you want to work for me? This is what I pay my workers. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the suits, the people at the top at the NOI. If a white man came in to work for you at the top, are you going to give him an equal piece? That is what I'm saying. Because that is what it sounds like. You want these Jewish people to give Black people who come out of nowhere, who are talented and creative. You want Jewish people to say, oh, you're so talented. Let me give you what I make. It's no different than a football contract. You want the owners and the coaches to give these people that want to run a ball because they want to get a Mercedes-Benz and support their 5 baby mamas. You want the owners of the NFL to get the guy that's running the ball so he could go buy a Bugatti, a Mercedes-Benz, and a Louis Vuitton luggage. You want the owners to give that guy that's running the ball, okay, $1 billion. It is nonsensical. It is nonsensical. The house always wins. So when I hear that violin of what happened to Sylvia, what the fuck you think is going to happen? It's not your house. Like, am I bugging here?
Do you want me to answer your question?
Yes.
Yes, we would, because that is the principles that our nation is founded upon.
That says liar on it.
Not at all. I mean, I again, and you can go through my social media. I get very close to the higher ups in the Nation of Islam. I'm not just a worker bee somewhere down, and I have seen. Huh?
But you're Black-ish.
No, I am. But I'm showing you what I've observed. I have observed anytime that there was someone outside of being quote unquote Black that was involved in some sort of business scenario that was handled by the top tier individuals, it was always on an equal playing field. Well, I mean, take it or let it alone.
I don't believe that. I appreciate what you're saying.
Take it or let it alone. But the receipts are out there, and it's very open to the public. You can't do what the Nation of Islam has done without at some point.
Have white. How many white men are guarding Farrakhan?
0.
Okay. How many?
But I will say this.
To me, listen, pero escúchame por favor. How many white men are sitting in the meetings?
Depends on the meeting. Because I can give you. I'm gonna answer your question. Let me answer your question.
But listen to the question. When Farrakhan is having a meeting, right, with his right hand men and his left hand men, how many white men are at the table? Don't tell me it depends on the meeting.
They don't work for 60 minutes.
Right. Exactly. When he's having an important meeting about the ins and outs of the NOI, how many white men or Asian men are at the meeting, or Mexican? That is my question. How many?
It's easy.
I would no, it's not easy, and I'll
It
tell
is
you why.
easy. It's very
No, it's
easy.
not. No, it's not,
Okay,
Jen.
how many?
Because I could say if you say his right hand and his left hand, I can say at least if we take what are called the laborers, and we take 12 individuals that are the laborers, there is at least 2 or 3 that are Mexican. I know that for a fact.
How
Now,
many
when we talk about,
white men?
there are the Nation of Islam does not allow Caucasian membership.
Okay, stop right there.
See, that was easy. That was easy, right?
Just
say
was?
0. Just say 0.
But
Zero.
again, no. Let me say this.
Zero.
Let me say this because let me say this because there's other things that the nation does, and you have individuals like Father Flager who are at the table.
I'm
When they're talking about.
I'm not talking about other things. I am not talking about other things. I'm talking about at the top. The other things don't matter. You have to be inclusive, right? Because you need to politically be inclusive. Because when it's time to look for funding, you got to call that guy who may not look like you.
The Nation of Islam doesn't have a history of having the need to be politically correct. So we can dead that in the conversation right there.
Okay,
the Nation of Islam has not had the need to be politically correct historically.
Listen to what I'm saying. There are levels to every business and company. There are levels. There are 0 white men on the left and right of Farrakhan when some important shit is going on. I'm not talking about, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. We got to call that guy because that guy got the money. And we got to collab with this guy because that guy got the money. And we need the money. I'm not talking about that. The same way they don't allow white people after a certain level. That's how the Jewish people are. That's how the white people are. There's no fucking difference. It's just that they have more money. So it does go back to envy and jealousy. It does. It absolutely does. Kanye himself said it on Piers Morgan. I envy the Jewish people. I envy them. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. What they're doing is this and this and that. And I just wanted to show you an example that any one of us on this panel, anybody in the chat, given power, is going to operate the same fucking way. Any one of us given the power is going to operate the same fucking way. I don't want that fucking race in here because of X, Y, and Z. I don't want that gender in here because of X fucking Y and Z. And I have the power to say who I want to my left and my right. Now, as we go lower, hey guys, we need to be inclusive because we need to get that and we need that vote. And we need that funding. So let's pretend we're inclusive. But when you look at all races, Jewish, Asian, Mexican, white, black, purple, green, yellow, neon, everybody operates the same way. But why is it that the black community demands, no, you have to do this or you're anti-us? It is nonsensical.
Beautiful argument.
Jen, I would like to say this.
Mike.
Go ahead.
Is it my turn, Jen?
Yeah, I know you wanted to say something, Joanna, right?
I hope he didn't leave because I see him. I think that's him in the middle.
Yeah, that's him. That's our friendly neighbor.
Ish and Jen, I just wanted to say this in the streets that I run, we have this saying, and you probably all have heard this somewhere in your life. Man's rejection is God's protection. So when I hear gentlemen like Ishmael Muhammad say, well, you can only go certain Kanye can only go a certain way because he's going to get blocked here and he's going to get blocked here. He's fashion, putting out his fashion. If he doesn't know anything about the manufacturing side or distribution side, he's going to get blocked. When I hear the word blocked, I also hear the word opportunity. And so that's where I want to cross the conversation over to, that I think what has opened up as an opportunity for Kanye and other so-called Black people to look over their shoulder and see opportunities of where they can grow, business wise, spiritual, emotional, whatever. Just like when someone breaks up with you in a romantic relationship, you see it as a heartbreak. But if you look over your other shoulder, you can see it as an opportunity to self actualize and realize who you really are, and recognize that that probably wasn't the relationship for you. And so, what I'm saying is, Kanye is smart enough to be able to find the right people to collab with in manufacturing, distribution, and or whatever the different levels are to be successful. And I would say that for any person in any group, um, when and that's why I don't, really, I kind of, my ears kind of fall off when I hear people put up, and don't be offended by this, but excuses, excuses why they cannot achieve. Because there's a person on this panel right now who owns his own company and has several houses, has businesses, travels to the Maldives with his woman, hires all kinds of people in his company. He probably has more than 100 employees. So, I really, turn my ears off when I hear the notion that, people are being blocked. You're only blocked in your mind mentally. I think Kanye has a wonderful opportunity, and I'm grateful that he got on national television and talked about the envy, because so-called Black people do have a large chip on their shoulder when it comes to other people. Just like Jen said, well, this person's against me, this person's against me. There's no one against anybody. The enemy, if you break down the word enemy phonetically, the sound is inner me. Your enemy is your inner me. You telling yourself what can't be done. And that's what makes Kanye so interesting to me. He believes he can do it. Now, he has a slight mental block with this Jewish thing, with these people won't let me do this, and they're, messing with my contracts. And that's why I continue to bring the conversation back to, well, why are you going to them anyway for a contract? Why aren't you creating the systems and the mechanisms where you don't need somebody's contract, somebody else needs your contract, and it can be done. Just again, I bring this back up. I don't know if this is true or not, but if there is a discussion on the table about acquiring Parler, that's something right there. If there is a conversation on the table about um, financing his own freaking bank, that's very magnanimous. That's paramount. If being blocked by these people opens up another portal in his mind to more growth, then so be it. I think that's a blessing. I think that's a good thing. And I don't want to be too long, so go ahead, you guys.
Okay. You're muted.
I have a question. Why do you think he didn't do it quietly?
Is this for me, Jen?
No, just for the panel in general. Like, why you don't think, like, when you look at other billionaires, Black billionaires, okay? He's not the only one.
I know.
Going around with Kanye a lot.
Because Kanye keeps saying that he's a Christian, and in scripture says, God says to move in silence. And that's what a lot of people in the European Jewish community do. You don't know what they're doing until it's already presented, until it's done. All the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. He likes to, and this is where some people say there may be some extreme narcissism there, because he likes to announce his stuff. He likes to make a big deal out of it. Some people say it's marketing genius, and some people say, like you said, how did you say it? Spite the hand, cut off. What did you say? Cut off your nose, or
spite his face.
Yeah, that I can see your way that it's harming him. I think I would prefer to move in silence, but in other ways, look who we're talking about. Look whose name is in the algorithm. This is, and if he's smart, I think he owns the name Ye now. So we keep saying that name, keeping his name, whether it's good publicity or negative publicity. It's pretty much, if you're in business, overall, it may be, positive publicity.
Okay.
No, Saint, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I want to add. First of all, I'd like to say shout out to the 2 women wearing the hoop earrings. Joanna, I don't know if you're wearing them, but I do like the hoop earrings. Those are awesome. I'm gonna kind of come to a little defensive-ish as far as
he's a big boy. He don't need nobody's defense.
No. But I get, okay. This is where, listen, he's talking kind of in a general way what is holding back certain people in the Black community. And I'm going to say, that's not unusual, but it's not just the Black community. It's every business. Listen, the mafia ran New York City garbage collection. You think an Irish person could get a job there? In 1952, the United Fruit Company got the United States government to invade Guatemala because they wouldn't agree to a contract with their bananas. That's where the term banana republic comes from. So if you're saying business is dirty, hell yes, business is dirty and it's not fair.
Well, it's like trying to be a fireman in an Irish station.
Right.
Doing that, bitch. Like, they run that shit. They ran it for decades. They like, we run burning buildings. You don't.
So when he's saying some things aren't fair, I totally agree with him. But it's not fair for and so you being, I don't know, 13, 15% of the population, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a little tougher, right? But everybody seems to think like, and I get what people are saying about the Mexicans and the Chinese. They're immigrants coming where they have a connection. They feel close because they have a certain story to share. People think that white people aren't good. Listen, the only thing that makes white people in any kind of a better situation is money. You take away the money, we're just as vicious as anybody else. I mean, there's there's a lot of white people I disagree with and dislike. So I mean, it's not like, oh, he's white and I like him or something like that, or I'm going to give him a break. You know what I mean? That's me. I'm just talking about myself here. So, but I can't jump on. I can't. I understand, Ishman. You're in the Nation of Islam, and that I don't know how long you've been in the Nation of Islam, and I don't know. Maybe it's 20 years. I just can't get on board with the Yaqub story. It goes a little left for me. The mad scientist Yaqub. It's a little bit well, it's like many other beliefs. You got to kind of suspend disbelief, I think. But maybe you don't believe that. Maybe that's an allegory. I just want to throw that out there. But anyway, Jen, yeah, I think people have jealousies, and I don't think it's just Black people. I just think that the fact that they're many, not all, many Black people are, for lack of a better word, at the bottom of society, at the bottom of the power struggle. There's going to be jealousy and there's going to be envy. I mean, that's just human nature, I believe.
Listen, I mean, Brother Ish knows I'm all about the nation, right? I have nothing against the nation, but I wanted to use it as an example to show any group of people. I don't care if it's a bunch of frogs or ants. Any group of people that is in some sort of power is going to be very careful or anti letting another motherfucker that doesn't look, walk, and talk like them in to be equal with them. It is unheard of. It is not done. People don't do it. People do not do it. I wouldn't do it. Y'all wouldn't do it. When you are in power, you're going to pick and choose. And more than likely, you're going to pick your own people first. Now, everybody else can help you. Everybody else can help.
Or you're gonna, you always see those people that get picked on, well, he's talking white, or he's people. I think we have a lot of culturalism in this country. There is certainly racism, but I also think there's a big culturalism, right? The difference, the others, and you'll see like the Black guy that quote unquote speaks correct English, whatever that means. Tribalism, yes, yeah, 100%.
Add another ism. I'm up to here with isms. Now it's culturalism too. Like, please,
Or tribalism. He's right. Tribalism is a good way to put it.
Culturalism, Platism, cell phoneism, multiism. I can't take another ism. I can't do it.
Swearism.
Hey, Tristan. Tristan is here with the gifts and the emojis. Someone said Farrakhan is half white or biracial. Lord almighty.
Not true.
I have brother Asher jump on everybody up in here.
Not true.
Jen, do you watch the Bill Maher show on Friday at all?
I used to watch Bill Maher, not so much anymore. Let me do this. Thank you for the super chat, Don LeBron. He says, quiet wealth is true wealth. Loud money is dumb money. I really think that Kanye's gonna fuck up his money. I know. I really think he's gonna fuck up his money, but that's just in a couple years.
The one thing that I thought was really interesting is instead of simply dismissing Kanye West, Bill Maher brought freaking Benjamin Netanyahu on his show to ask Benjamin Netanyahu about the Anti-Defamation League and how they felt about the Kanye West comments. It's like they basically treat, no matter how trivial this shit is, no matter how ridiculous it is, they treat it as if it's an absolute threat. And I have to acknowledge the fact, and I also have to appreciate the fact that they actually take these things seriously. See, me personally, as far as all the Jews that they say control like the rap industry, my thing is, let's do a power move. How about you make it? So that blacks can't use the word nigga in a fucking rap song anymore? Let's see what they do then. Let's see how quickly they put their money together, and all of a sudden they start making their own things because you're canceling my free speech. Yeah, well, how about if I made it so that you can't use the N-word, you can't call women bitches or hoes? Let's see how talented you really are. And then I guarantee you, all of a sudden, all the money will get pulled. All of a sudden, oh, yeah, well, we're starting Life Row Records or some bullshit. And that's the sad thing about it. They are...
I think Jay-Z will jump into that one. I think Jay-Z
see, what kills me about them is they are absolutely, completely content being shit. And they don't mind, like even the rap now sucks. So they're completely content with mediocrity at this point. And they're mad and complaining because they're not getting enough money because they ain't making no money. Nobody's buying that shit no more. People are stealing their music on Frostwire, and they got to go out and they notice how many of them are still selling drugs. Why do you think they still selling drugs? They ain't making no money at that rap music no more. They're buying them cars on credit cards. They're doing drugs. And now, just like this person put up the Nipsey Hussle and all of these dudes who are in these communities, and they're getting killed by the same people who are part of their community.
Hold on. Well, that's everybody.
Excuse me. Well, hold on. No. Well, hold on.
That's everybody. Everybody kills each other in their community.
Let me say it again because you didn't hear it. Getting killed by the same people who are in their community. That's
everywhere.
All of these rappers who set up their little shops and they set up their businesses, they can't even come back to their own hood because they're going to get killed by somebody who's got a score to settle with them.
I would say that Frank Sinatra did not move immediately from Hoboken and did not hang in Little Italy. So you can might as well you can say that in every scenario.
Killed by the people in their community.
Just because you get
That's
loud,
everybody.
Right.
You know how many Mexicans?
Understand.
You ever been to LA?
Wait a minute.
I am not diminishing.
Pause. Can we pause for a second? What Big Truck was trying to say is that even the men that we're not slow down. No one said black on black crime. Put your picket signs down. Put your black fist down.
I didn't say it, but
no one's talking about black on black crime. What he was trying to say was even the men who go back to uplift the community and give jobs to the people in the community get fucking killed. That is what he meant. I know that it's about proximity and you usually kill the person down the block because you live on the block. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the people that do go back. When you say go independent, start your own shit, buy the block back. Why y'all all leave the community? When these men go back.
Exactly.
No, but that was Nipsey Hussle. That was gang related.
How many rappers got killed this year?
That was gang related.
It's always gang related.
It does matter. Y'all don't understand gangs. If you understand, that was gang related. That had nothing to do with him going back to his community.
That was my entire point. They're not making any money selling this shitty ass music, so they got to make their money selling drugs. So yes, they are still involved in gangs. My point being,
who's selling drugs?
No matter how much money they make, they can't build anything, and they keep getting killed.
If you're selling drugs, then some people can't. Some people just can't get away from the lifestyle.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to mute your mic because y'all not gonna give me a headache tonight. Wait till the other person finishes talking. It's so simple. It's so fucking simple to wait. Hold on to your nuts. I know it hurts, and you gotta respond. But listen, that's what they act like. You're in a political debate. You have to let the other person finish. It's simple to do. Okay, whether gang related or not, Nipsey was on the block trying to save the people on the block. Doesn't matter if the Tooth Fairy killed him. If the Tooth Fairy was black, it was a black man that said, "Well, I'm in a gang, so let me take out this brother who's helping the community and trying to buy the block back." That is the point.
Jen, nobody wants to hear that, Jen. Nobody wants to hear.
They can't hear it.
Nobody wants to hear that shit.
They can't hear it.
It's not something that somebody doesn't want to hear.
Nobody wants to hear.
What we're talking about here is a gradation of consciousness. So if someone is sitting there with not the same level of comprehensive understanding of this impacts my community, this impacts my neighbor, and they are in a self-destructive lifestyle, of course, they're not going to be receptive. Half of these young individuals that are out there doing this are high on drugs coming from dysfunctional families and abusive scenarios. So they're already at a point functioning mentally in a deficient manner and not a culturally conscious, upraised perspective. So because, and I live down the street from where that situation happened, I could walk there. Okay, so I have a very comprehensive understanding of the Rolling 60s Crips and all the gangs in that area. So the problematic dynamic is, and just like you said, in gang culture or in crime culture, let's just take it out of just gangs, but in crime culture, you're going to have jealousy and envy. You're going to have somebody who's going to move in a different manner, regardless of how it impacts the community, because they're not in a space of being socially redeeming or socially responsible. So of course, in that community, you have the predators and the prey. And then you have those individuals that are there, that are standing there saying, hey, let's not do this in our community. But you still have this ongoing dynamic of the predators and the prey. And who becomes prey? The wealthiest person there. And or somebody that looks like them, that seems like they may be somebody we can quote unquote eat off of. So it's not just a dynamic of what rappers or black rappers can or cannot do. You're talking about a whole social construct that exists that has to be addressed on top of all the other dynamics that are going on based upon the historical context of everything that's taking place in this decimated community, because every decimated community has had it. The Irish, the Italian, the Jewish community all have that, because you had the Jewish mafia, you had the Italian mafia, you had the Irish mafia.
Can we not bring up the Irish and all of them, because they're not fucking protesting and crying about what other people are doing to them.
What about isms?
Let's stay in our community, because we're talking about our community. Let's stay in our community. Fuck with the Irish.
And Jen, I really want to know, what do people?
They're not Irish people, okay? Online, blowing up my fucking Facebook, talking about, but the Jewish people are doing to us. They're doing their motherfucking this. They're reverting to what they're doing over there. All right. So it sounds to me like Black people who want to help the community are safer with a Jewish contract than they are going back to the block trying to save anybody. That
sounds about right. Yeah,
Facts.
You're right.
And what is their and what is their incentive? What is the
Suge Knight wasn't Jewish. Suge Knight wasn't Jewish.
What is the incentive, Big Truck, for certain people to deny the issues that are plaguing the so-called Black community when they're not the thugs, they're not the gangsters, they're not the hoodlums, they're not the degenerates, they're not the people with the lower consciousness? It's always these people with the higher consciousness who get on and talk and defend all this foolishness. What is the incentive of that? Are these people, these degenerates, putting money into your pocket? I always question that, because I would think the
It's
people who
deflection, Joanna.
I would think that the people who are in uplifting positions, such as the Nation of Islam, would be the number one people condemning this behavior. But it's always these type of people. It's always these upper class people in the culture who are defending the what I call, I'm not afraid to say, the scum of the culture. I never understand that, Big Truck. Can you help me understand that?
No, it's very simple.
Great
It's
question.
very simple.
Great question.
It's deflection, and there's a lot of the envy that gets it started. But ultimately, when you know that this is being called out, what you do is deflect. It's like when you say, "Oh, well, why are you still on welfare?" "Oh, well, white people get it too." It's like, I didn't fucking ask that.
I didn't ask you about white people.
Or the Irish, or the Italian.
No, listen, me personally, let me tell you something. One thing I understand is that at this point, first of all, I'm tired of the deflection. I'm tired of bullshit. If it has to end, then it's got to end. My thing is, I believe in entropy just as much as I believe in Darwinism. So if it's time for it to come to an end, then it's time for it to come to an end. So just like you talking about Predator's Praise, if you can't kill the rapper, what you do is you threaten to go DEFCON 3 on him and get the whole goddamn phrase wrong. That's what you do. See, that's the issue you're dealing with. Just like what Jen said, people trying to be the next bully, or people trying to be the next, the victimizer. That's what it is. So my thing is, no, maybe it's time for parts of the community to be disbanded, especially the parts who you know are up to no good and who are doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, maybe it's time for Pookie and Ray Ray to get their asses gentrified out. Maybe it's time for that.
Jen, I need to say something to that.
Hold on, a good example of that. When you look at T.I., I don't know if you guys are familiar with the rapper T.I., but the way his son is behaving all over the internet, starting trouble, threatening people, threatening grown men or whatever. And then T.I. comes on, "Oh, he's a grown man. Don't come at a kid." 1 week, "Well, my son's a grown man." Next week, he's like, "Don't come after a kid." It's the constant excusing of degeneracy. Constant. Well, we were all put in the ghetto, and, we were all poor. So, of course, we're going to kill each other. What do you expect us to do? We're all here together, poor. It's the constant excuse after excuse. And when there's no excuse, there's the diverting to, but Irish people kill each other too, and they're in their own community. The Irish people, "Oh, well, Frank Sinatra," over and over and over again. Meanwhile, all them people that you're diverting to are doing better than you. All of them.
Oh, beautiful, girl! You gotta take this show on the road.
Give me a second.
Jen, you gotta take this show on the road. That was beautiful.
So, Jen, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna disagree with all three of you on this point.
What you got?
Well, you have to have advocacy for the poorest in this country. You have to, because nobody talks about them, right?
No.
So wait. You gotta wait. I'm not saying make excuses. There are going to be people in all communities that you can give them every chance, and they're still gonna F it up, basically, or they're still gonna take the so-called easy route out or whatever. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying to sit there and say I'm sick of. I don't know. To me, and I'm not black, Pookie and Ray Ray is very offensive. That really is.
What's offensive to me is when Europeans bring their justify degeneracy in the black community, which perpetuates it. Coddling.
I just said poor people. First of all, I said I'm advocating for poor people, which I do have in my family.
I'm not.
Well, I am, because to act as if we can just let her. I understand what Big Truck's saying about the Darwinism, but people at the top aren't necessarily the apex predators. Donald Trump didn't make that money without having his father give him.
Here we go. Trumpism.
Not just Trump.
And what's wrong with that? My father funded my business. That's what he's supposed to do.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying to act like somehow he is a superior business person over someone who was born without is, as people say, he started the race pretty close to the finish line. He wasn't going to fail, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with passing your wealth on. I'm saying to act as if the poverty, the crime, and education isn't problems in lower income communities, which can be white, because you go to West Virginia and it's white. Okay, so I'm not bringing race into it at all. I'm saying poor people need to be advocated for. And if you don't, wait, let me say this. And if you don't, and it gets bad enough, they'll come after you when they're starving.
Bro, all I was trying to say is stop perpetuating poverty.
Okay, wait. Let me respond to No Saint. No Saint. I am an advocate for poor people.
I'm not.
I worked for a nonprofit. I work with fundraising, right? I give someone my sandwich if I'm walking by and they're homeless. I'm like, I can get a sandwich later. I think everyone should advocate for poor people. Do not confuse poor people for degenerates.
Cookie and Ray Ray.
Who murder each other in the streets, okay?
And little children.
You know why I know they're not poor? Because they have on $250 fucking Jordans, okay? In the same neighborhoods where I had to work 2 jobs to pay rent for my apartment. So let's not confuse, all right, the advocacy for the Pookies and the Ray Rays who on the corner all fucking day committing crimes with people that are trying to make ends meet to feed their family, to get to work the next day. Don't confuse the two. Do not confuse the two. So I do agree, but I think we got to pass the question to Brother Ish. But I do agree with the question that Joanna asked Big Truck. Why is it that when these motherfuckers act like fucking outright savages? I understand advocating for the poor people, the single mothers, the single fathers who need, extra income to raise I understand that. But the fucking savages are always made an excuse for. You can hear that a motherfucker killed Nipsey Hussle, someone who is uplifting his fucking community, employing people. And what you come back with is, the gang culture and the neighborhood.
Oh, no. But the Jews had a mafia too.
But of course,
Can I respond? I'm the one that said that. And that's
I just want to say,
thing.
MLK said, MLK wrote a letter in the Birmingham jail, and he said, beware of the European liberal. Beware of these people who will coddle this type of behavior in the community, who will, I always beware of this, y'all. I just want to say that.
But Black people do it too, because we have 2 on the panel that just
whoa. Remember, we're not bringing up everybody else. He was talking about the Europeans.
No, but Black people do it too.
No, you said don't bring up other people. She was talking about Europeans.
She's right.
It affects you. Oh. Nipsey Hussle getting killed affects you. It doesn't affect the European. It affects you.
Jen, how many rappers got killed within the last 2 years?
How many? I really did lose count. I lost count. It's too many.
How many are murdered in Chicago over the last summer?
Oh my God!
How many kids? How many children under 10 years old? Advocate for that, No Saint.
Yeah, these people have literally turned these communities into fucking shooting galleries. And when anybody brings it up, but the Jews had a mafia too. Yeah, well, the Jews mafia.
This is a sick Negro.
Up the block.
I would say this.
Let Brother Ish answer the question that Joanna posed to Big.
Well, hold on. What's brother's name that wanted to respond? Because I know that he didn't get an opportunity to respond, and then I'll respond after him.
And don't forget about Polly, because after No Saint was supposed to be Polly.
I'm just gonna develop a numbering system.
Thank you, sir. Because we need the A student in the class to do this. So come on.
Polly, do you want to respond?
Only thing I was saying was about the.
I can let them go. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I know they're passionate. They're very passionate gentlemen. I'm listening to the passion.
I'm gonna be quick. I was just gonna say about the Nipsey Hussle thing. You cannot erase that it was a gang-related issue, because if you look at what happened, that individual that came up and killed him, he was called a snitch by Nipsey Hussle. Oh my God. Once he came back to the thing. Now, if you're in that culture, and that's why I say it's gang culture. If you're in a gang culture and somebody calls you a snitch, unfortunately, according to the rules of the game, you must respond to that. So he felt in his mind he was called a snitch. He said, I'm not a snitch. Well, he came back and responded the way that he did. It wasn't like it was some random dude that came up and, oh, I'm envious. He's helping the community. I'm hating on him. I'm doing this. That wasn't a random issue. This was an individual that knew him.
How about the guy that just got killed?
What about the guy who was killed at the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles?
Yeah. How about him? Was he calling people?
He needed his chain, Joanna. They needed his chain.
What was he calling people snitches too?
I don't know about that situation, but I do know about the Nipsey Hussle.
No.
I do know about the Nipsey Hussle one, and I was just saying that.
What about Pop Smoke? What about
I was speaking on that one.
What about King Von? Like, you'll be here all night giving excuses, World Kings. You literally.
These aren't excuses. This is real. This is the real deal. These aren't excuses.
It's an excuse.
These aren't excuses. Well, King Von, he got into a fist fight with the individual.
Okay,
the individual came. That's not no excuse. I'm just telling you. This is what happens. That's not no excuse.
You'll be here all night defending
Young Dolph.
Defending nobody. I'm just telling you what happened. You told me King Von. I told you he got into a fist fight with the man. He hit the man. The man came back and shot him.
How about Young Dolph and Extension?
What about XXX? What you got for that?
And
what about the guy who cut my uncle's throat at the liquor store? What about that?
What about Pop Smoke? What you got for that?
Any more excuses?
Jen, these aren't excuses. This is what I'm saying. They're not excuses.
What about the guy who shot my aunt on the corner? It was 3 in the morning, but still, she was on the corner and she got shot. See, because I'm tired of these excuses too.
So let me say this.
Let's keep it fair.
Any circumstance or any situation where there's an underserved community and an undereducated community and underfinanced is going to be problematic. I mean, absolutely, I agree. That's why the Nation of Islam, we are separatists and we build our own schools. We have farms. We have a problem with how there's a food desert in the ghettos. We have many farms across the country where we serve many people, not just Nation of Islam followers, but all the people in the community. So I'm a Black separatist. I believe that we should just do for self. I agree with it. When I'm pointing out circumstances and conditions, I'm pointing out what's taking place and the dynamics between them. At the end of the day, as a separatist, I really would rather have our own section of the country and just do our own thing.
Well, you keep those degenerates. You're going to take them with you in your separate part of the nation.
Convert them.
Absolutely, I would absolutely, and I would say.
Okay.
Hey, they talk about me. They talk about me. You taking me with you?
I would say this. Absolutely. Because
put it on the website. I want all the degenerates to know they can go over there.
Just so you understand, it's all perspective. And yesterday's degenerate is tomorrow's Malcolm X. Because he was a pimp, he was a hustler.
Malcolm X.
He was a pimp.
Malcolm X was a traitor to the NOI.
He was a hustler.
Thank you, Joanna.
Hold on.
Malcolm X portrayed.
And he was a criminal.
Malcolm X betrayed Elijah Muhammad. May peace be upon him. Malcolm X betrayed him.
And look
Malcolm X only betrayed himself. And that was the error.
Look what happened to Malcolm, the man that was saved by the NOI. Look what happened to him. Look what happened to him. Right?
He was murdered by the government.
Malcolm X.
No. He was not murdered by the government.
Okay. Why? Well, okay. Then why was everyone that was involved, that was accused and arrested of his murder, exonerated years later? Why were the individuals that were involved in his case? We're not going to diverse, but I'm just going to say very clearly that were involved in this case, part of the the NYPD. So let's not be unrealistic. When you wanted to go down the road.
Wait a minute.
One of the gunmen who did it admitted it on a interview, and he regretted it and he cried in the interview. I can't think of the man's name, but no, the government did not kill Malcolm X.
Okay,
let me ask this.
Then you're sadly misinformed.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from who set it up, who may have paid for it, and who may have freed his killers. Who pulled the trigger?
Come on, girl. Come on with it.
Black men. Oh,
okay.
Let's stand. Hold on.
Game
over. Hold on. Let me. I stand corrected. Hold on. I stand
Game
corrected.
over.
No. I stand corrected. Because I stand corrected.
Now the government, the government. Hold on. Now the government did take responsibility for MLK. The government did take responsibility for MLK. It paid the family in a civil lawsuit, but the government was not behind the shooting of Malcolm X.
That is not true. And there's more than enough evidence, and even Dick Gregory gives an accounting of the shots that killed Malcolm X came from above and not below. And the men that shot Malcolm X, as they say, they were shooting from below. So all the bullets that shot and killed Malcolm X came from above. So they're saying that there was an additional shooter.
As long as the audience knows that there's disagreeing opinions.
Wait a minute. An additional shooter along with the black shooters?
No. What happened was the plane crashed into the middle of the building.
Big Truck. Brother Ish, an additional shooter along with the black shooters.
Exactly. Right.
The statement is that the individuals with the guns. I'm gonna answer the question because you gotta give it in context. They said the ones that were the shooters had blanks in their guns. They had blanks in their guns. There were.
I'm gonna mute your mic. Yes or no first, and then you're free to elaborate. Was there an additional shooter who may have been with the FBI in white? Was there an additional shooter along with the black shooters? The black shooters, the black shooters, the black shooters. Was there an additional white shooter, perhaps hired by the FBI or the government, along with the black shooters? The black shooters that were there to murder Malcolm X. The black shooters. I know it hurts.
It's an easy question.
It hurts. But along with the black shooters, and then you can elaborate with the semantics and who was involved and who paid, and who drove the car, and who bought the bullets, and who made the bullets, and what country the bullets came from. We can go there. But were there not?
I think he said no.
Were there not black shooters there to murder Malcolm X or to help in the orchestration? Get your hand out my pocket was not a white man.
Muted. I'm ready to respond.
Who's playing Jeopardy music?
Am I unmuted?
That's not me this time.
Who's playing Jeopardy music?
So there were black shooters in the room. Now can I respond?
Yeah, thank you. Now you can talk about where the bullet was made, where the gun was manufactured, what white man drove the car. Now you can tell us all of that. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Okay. Black shooters did not have control of the NYPD that was supposed to be guarding the Audubon Ballroom that was removed from the premises.
Do you hear this?
The individuals
this is insane.
That have the guns.
Yes,
hold on. I mean, okay. I strategically did not interrupt anyone. Now when I'm speaking, everyone wants to make conjecture and interrupt.
Go ahead.
Give the same respect that you're given. Okay? So the individuals, they say, had blanks in their guns. Yes, they were black men, but of course you can hire anyone to do anything. If it was orchestrated, the biggest question on why the whole murder of Malcolm X is a big issue, and we can continue on from this because that's a whole nother show, is because the big question is, did the nation do it? Was the nation involved? And what they found out through real investigations were the individuals were thugs from New Jersey. They weren't even Muslims in the nation. None of the individuals that were arrested that were let me correct my language. The ones that were convicted that were later exonerated were the only ones that were in the nation. But the actual man that said, I did it, I was involved in the shooting, and the people that were in the crime with me are not here or in jail, they were not in the nation. That's the big question at the end of the day.
Another satisfying racial moment.
So they were black degenerates. So is the NOI I'm just saying they were black degenerates. The people who you advocate for, please take them wherever you're going to take them with you. That's all we're saying.
Like I said, there are many black degenerates that when their lives are reformed or turned around, become great benefits to society.
Okay,
Because if you said that if we wouldn't have Quincy Jones, let's just use him as an example. We wouldn't have Quincy Jones if it wasn't for, he was a degenerate. He was a criminal. He was a hustler. He was a gangster. When his life got turned around, he then created great music and a great business for a lot of people.
Well, let's let all those degenerate shooters, robbers, killers, and rapers slide because Malcolm X and Quincy Jones, by golly. Miss Polly, I know you've been waiting to talk.
Hi, Miss Polly.
Hi. I'm taking it in. Just taking it. I'm good. Usually,
no say
because I didn't want to touch on Malcolm X. So I did want to say just a little part. Like I said, was just in our community, we don't want to always have an excuse why we're not progressing, and that is an issue. You know, you see it all the time. Like, oh, I can't do this because somebody's stopping me, or there's lots of people out here who don't allow that to be what it is. And like you were saying, someone's telling you, oh, giving them people an excuse why they can continue not to be progressive, not to do better, not to try. It doesn't make sense. And it's sad to me to watch our communities stay in this place of poverty because of the fact that someone's telling them, if you even just try to do a little bit better, you do better by not doing anything. If that makes sense to you, what I'm saying, you can actually do better not doing anything because someone's telling you it's okay to sit there and get your food stamps and everything, because if you try to go get a job, you're not going to do it a good job. You're going to get like a little job's not going to make enough. And so they just stay in that stagnant place that they're not moving. I just don't understand why someone can tell you that, hey, this is better to sit here instead of being a person who wants to try to do better and try to get, make their own business. We got to progress somewhere. I feel like
facts.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I agree.
My words twisted, right? But I definitely, for me personally, as a person who I've seen, when I was 18, I had a child, and the first woman I walked into, I had my own place and everything. I was like, oh yeah, you got this, girl. You gonna go to college, get this done. And that's what I did. I didn't wait for nothing. I hit the door running because I was like, I got this. I'm excited. I want to have this new life. And the first person I met was a lady who was like, she's 40 years old. She's on Social Security, said, oh, I just don't really like to do math. So I told Social Security I couldn't really do good math or something. She ended up getting Social Security. She had like 3 kids. And I was like, how long have you been on this program? And she's basically been telling me, she's like, oh, it's easier. I'd make more money just sitting here not doing anything than to go get a job. Then I'll get tired. Why is our community being told that we can sit here and do nothing and stay in this place and then hand down Section 8 to our kids, hand down food stamps to our children? And there's nothing better than this, because we're never going to make it past a certain point anyway. So why try? And that's where I think a lot of people's minds are. That's idiotic. I don't want to have to hope that the government sticks together. I thought COVID would help people realize that I don't want to wait for the government to hand me a check to make sure I can pay my rent.
Facts.
Or if I'm going to have food for my kids because they just said food stamps ran out. I don't want to be in that position, but people aren't thinking like that. They're thinking about it in the moment. I'm just going to get this money. I'm going to go buy me this. And then what they do with the little check is the first thing that lady would do. It baffled my mind. She's like, oh, every first month I buy a new outfit and I go get a bottle and I go to the club. What? And she did this over and over. And I just watched her. And I said, I will never be like that. And that's all I could do is that looks horrible to live like this. And you're 40. And you've been sitting like this since you were God knows how old. And that's all she had to look forward to, was that once a month to buy an outfit, get a bottle, and go to a club. That's all she had. And that was crazy to me. And she thought that was living. She was excited. And that's what a lot of people have to look forward to in our community. I'm not saying don't help them, but also don't handicap us.
Absolutely, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? You're handicapping.
Let me acknowledge an icon. Okay, it's not every day there's an icon in the chat. What's up to
Oh.
Crazy Me Familia? How are you? Crazy Lex on the Rock Steady crew. I have a question for you, Brother Ishan. And I know No Saint, I know you have to speak next. Tristan giving me the play-by-play. You said underserved communities, blah, 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 yada, yada. I'm just curious. And this is just, and for the record, let me just state the NOI is an amazing, amazing, amazing organization. I do see what they do with the youth and the young brothers and the young sisters. And if not for them, these kids would be out on the street. They do turn women into wives. They do turn hoes into housewives. I've seen it. Okay. They do turn street dudes into, upstanding citizens. So hats off to the minister. I've always said that. I don't agree with everything. But I do want to ask, but it's a question. You said underserved communities, blah, blah, blah. Why? And this is just a question. I'm curious about your answer. Why don't meth communities and trailer parks, why aren't they gunning each other down? Because those are poor communities as well. And you're saying that because we're poor in our communities, that's why we act like a bunch of savages. So I'm wondering why, meth communities and trailer parks, and why aren't they gunning each other down and killing each other?
Well, let me say this. I believe they are, and I just maybe they're not at the same rate, but they are. Any kind of crime culture. I think what was the TV series that was about the meth community and that whole situation? I forgot the name of it, but it was with the leather-faced white guy. I forgot his name.
You mean Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad. Wasn't that about that type of culture and that community? It exists. Crime culture. When you have crime when you have a predominantly crime-ridden culture, you're going to have those behaviors. Once you change a condition of a mind and a community, you change the behavior. That's the circumstances and conditions. That's why the nation has produced success. That's why we have been able to turn people around.
Do you think they glorify murderers and robbers?
Good question. Ooh.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think.
Yes,
I mean, if you look at I think Hollywood does it as well.
Is it Hollywood? Is there our community?
Here we go.
But I mean, you have to look. I'm gonna say this, Truck, just in the truest sense of the word. You have to identify peer-to-peer type scenarios. And if you have a comparison contrast and you say, okay, they do this here, well, this is also done. So then you have to look at what is the common denominator. When you start addressing those from that dynamics, then you can say, okay,
so right now in our time period that we are in right now currently, who is glorifying, and this is me question, who is glorifying murder, underage sex with children, all kind, little teenagers in the videos and things like that. Who is glorifying all this crime right now currently? If you had to pick a group of people, who is glorifying these activities, criminal activities?
50 Cent. He has the three number 1 shows.
And who is watching that? Who's watching that, Jen?
He has 3 number 1 shows in Black households right now.
Who's the dynamic who's watching this? So you're basically you're teaching our youth that this is who we glorify, regardless if you like it or not.
I agree that that's problematic. I'm a filmmaker myself. I do not like those type of films. I understand the dynamics of what, this happening behind the scenes and making projects like that. And when you present a project where it's like, here's 2 Black people that fell in love, got a job, and went on to the sunset. That's not a project that's going to get sold in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So you have to understand, yes, those projects are being put out, and they're put out by Black faces, because if you want to be a content creator, you have to go where the money is, and a lot of times you're being steered. So, yes, our hands are dripping with blood in relationship to the conditions of our community. And it is our responsibility as the voices in our community to take a position to say, we do not support that. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I absolutely don't have a problem with that. I also know that even within the nation, we go directly to the source. Brother, you shouldn't be making projects like that. Brother, you should, you know what I'm saying? And we do our methodologies to change perspectives. You hear Snoop Dogg, who as degenerate of a history as he has, at certain points has spoken with some points of clarity because people have gotten at him. But if nobody has said anything to him and just said, okay, well, let him just go over here and he's trash, he would continue to be the person that he is. Now, again, he has an abhorrent history. Abhorrent history. Anybody that puts Black women on dog leashes, I have no value for. Anyone who propagates the usages of drugs, I have no value for. But do I have a responsibility as a conscious, civilized Black man to strive and say, hey, brother, look, there are alternative ways to do things. There are alternative ways to express your creativity and your art forms. Do I have that responsibility? Yes. I'm not, the Nation of Islam and Brother Ishmael is not here to condemn or to kill Black people. We're here to uplift.
So can I say this real quick? And I know No Saint, you go next. You know, when you say Hollywood glorifies murders and things like that too, I just wanted to say that Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone holding a gun in a movie poster is different from your favorite rapper saying, I don't respect the guy that got shot, I respect the shooter. It's a whole different dynamic and it has a whole different effect when your favorite rapper is saying that versus you going to the movie theater and seeing Arnold with, you know what I'm saying, a tech in his hand, you know, pointing at the camera. It's a different dynamic and it has different results.
Well, can I ask a question, Jen?
Can I get in after
she was saying?
My bad.
Oh, I mean, but she's right. Like when you see Schwarzenegger, when you see even like movies where you see there's always like, oh, they're trying to get back because someone murdered their wife or something like that. It's always because like in the name of love or, you know, because they were hurt, their dog died. So that's why they've turned into this crazy person. But if it's on, you know, you see the one who's, you know, obviously Black or something like that, it's always because, oh, they stepped to my girl wrong and I gotta get them. They, you know, they stole my drugs. You don't see a love story where someone is you know, their mom was hit by a car or their dog died and the Black man goes and kills everyone because their dog dies. It's just like it kind of shows that they were romanticizing you know, the Caucasians or anyone else. There's some kind of story of love behind why they're doing these acts of violence. They're not naturally violent, and then it portrays us as if we're just already this uptight, angry person already, and we're just waiting for someone to set us off so we can lose it. And yeah, you're right. I don't want to be portrayed as the angry Black woman just because I just came to work and I'm a little upset because like my neck hurts. You know, I want people to see something different, but it is portrayed like that. And then they glorify that too. And it's just, I don't get why we're glorifying that foolishness in our own community.
I mean, again, to address that point, there are films that are made like that are not supported and not promoted. And you have Queen and Slim, who did a film that was a film about somebody who was standing in defense of, you know, a Black woman, you know, and that turned into a situation. It was a nice, you know, Bonnie and Clyde love story. But you have many content creators who make these type of projects that don't get promoted. The Woman King, the Woman King got debated not because there was this images of, you know, dark-skinned women empowered that were not being sexualized, that were fighting for freedom and were freedom fighters. The big debate was this historically accurate? Well, goddamn, how many movies are historically accurate?
Agree.
You know what I'm saying? If you want a documentary, then you do a documentary about the Dahomey tribe. But if you want to see something different on a screen and you want to have, then you have to go where you have to support those type of projects and you have to bring people to those type of projects and you have to get out there and campaign for those projects. So, I mean, I just named two just off the top of my head, but there are countless films that are being made by many Black filmmakers. There are countless records being made by many artists who are conscious and say beautiful lyrics, uplifting lyrics, empowering lyrics. But again, just like
why don't our people want that?
Well, real quick,
why don't we desire that?
I mean, it's not that our people don't want that. It's not that our people don't want that because those artists that do their music are successful. But then you have individuals like Leor Cohen, who sits down here and says, "Oh yeah, but you know what? when he was questioned, why do you put an act out like that? And he says, well, I got to make money. So
he said Ja Rule was too soft.
Right. He takes millions of dollars and puts it behind an artist, whereas an artist who may be conscious doesn't have those same resources, and he gets eclipsed.
But so does 50 Cent.
But I think along with
he's a pawn in the game, in my opinion.
I think along with the glamorization.
Hold on, bro, but then it goes back to what I said. Anyone in power acts like the same fucking savage, because 50 Cent now is in power, and what is he feeding his own people? The same shit that Leo Cohen was feeding black people. That proves my point.
Yeah, but let me say this.
Okay,
let me say this.
Corrupts absolutely. It's the same shit. So why blame people?
Because I believe that there are categories.
When you're in power, you do the same thing.
I think that there are those that are in power that are responsible and those that aren't. And there are those who say, you know what, I am not an individual that has a social redeeming bone in my body, and I just want to make money, and I don't care how it happens. And that happens in our community. We have those individuals. So not in majority. I would say that those are the individuals that we see. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the masses of black people, because if it was the majority, then the black community would be far worse than it is at this point.
I think
there are a large number of black people who are honest, hardworking, middle class, or even lower class, that work every day and don't go out there and sell drugs and commit crimes and rape women and do all the things that the few are being highlighted on. It's like the bad kid in class. There's 30 kids in class, but the loud bad kid is the one that gets all the attention.
I think what Polly was saying and Jen was saying, there is a glamorization of drugs, sex, murder. I know it for sure. It exists. There is a culture that it happens. If you're a killer or you're a drug dealer or you're this, all the women gonna want you, and it's rewarded. What I think should come along with this glamorization of it, whether it be in music, TV, or whatever, is I think that even though we see the consequences happen, we see people that die because of the lifestyle they live, we see them have to go to prison or whatever the case. I think that the consequences should be just as loud, if not as loud, as the glamorization of the stuff. I think that people should be letting these kids know, okay, if you choose to do this, this is a consequence that's going to happen. Don't cry when the lifestyles of the life that you lead, that it knocks at your front door. I think that we should, and I think that will deter more kids. I think that they'll look at it like a movie. Okay, that's a movie. That's not something that I want to get involved with. I think the voice of the consequences of this stuff that we put in the music and TV to steer kids and children and the young impressionable minds from wanting to get into it. I think that those things need to be put on, because people don't really realize the consequences until it's right in your face. Some people do, some people don't. They think it's just going to be in a song and you go up the street and you pop and you this. They don't understand that you're going to sit in the cell. You're going to be away from your children. Your parents are going to cry. You're causing harm to your community. You're causing harm to other families. You're fucking up a whole bunch of shit with just one of these acts. So I believe that the consequences need to be spoken about more than what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think but
I wanted to pass the mic to No Saint, but I wanted to say, to circle back, I think the responsibility, the onus, the accountability should fall right back on us. Like, we're watching these TV programs, we're listening to the music, we're allowing these idiots to talk about women any which way, and because it's a dope beat, or it's because it's Jay and he repping it, or because we're letting this happen. The responsibility is ours. It's not up to the Jewish people to care what our image is. It just isn't. It isn't up to Leo to care how Black people look. It's not up to them, especially when our own people come into power, they do the same shit. 50 is putting on a fucking TV series every fucking week about the same subject, and we're eating it up. We're like, yo, Kanan, the Power Book 3. We're eating it up on these timelines. So the responsibility has to fall on our lap. I think the diversion and the excuses always, no, but the white people are the white people. No, your own people are putting this music out, the videos, the freaking programs, I've auditioned for films and been in films where it's like this. Oh yeah, you got a budget now. The only story you got is some bang 'em up and guns and this, that, and that. What else y'all got? Y'all got love stories. You got science fiction. What else you got? And so the responsibility is ours to support these independent filmmakers, or we're going to be stuck watching Power Book 55 the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I do want to pass the mic to No Saint because he has been waiting. I think we lost Joanna. But No Saint, I know you've been waiting, and since you're a white person.
So first, I
just, it was like cracker. But
yeah. So I want to start out by saying so first of all, I wish Joanna was still on here because I'm much closer to the center than left. But
she said she just sent a super chat. She said thank you for the super chat. She said my phone powered off. I'm back now. Please drop the link. Good. So whatever you say, she can respond to.
Okay. Yeah. But I do want to make it. I'm sorry. The other lady on the panel. What's her name?
Polly.
What is it? Polly. Okay. So I wanted to address something she said. So listen, anybody that has a child at a young age and can do what you did, applause to you. The issue I have when we're talking about when Big Trucker and we're all talking about the disadvantaged people is that the majority of those people aren't shooting people up and they're not committing crimes. The majority are just average people that don't have a lot of money. And because you did that at a young age is great, but waking up at say 5 a.m. to catch a bus, leaving your kids at home to cook their own food and catch their own. I'm just saying there are disadvantages. And to me, when it comes to welfare and aid and food stamps, it's more about the kids that had nothing to do with it that are in a situation. You can't let those kids just hang because the parents did something wrong. So that's where, if you want to call me a liberal, okay, I'll be guilty on it, right? I just don't think it's a good idea to I think that's the main reason. There's always going to be abuse. There's abuse in everything. When you bring up during COVID, I pointed that out to many people I work with, how we knew people that were bartenders and things that were like, oh, I'm making more money just sitting here collecting the stimulus check. I'm like, oh, so it's cool when you can get the free money. You just don't like when other people get the so-called free money, Another thing I want to bring up is it really, like you're bringing up an allegory or an anecdotal story about someone you knew that was 40 and was continually collecting Social Security, which I don't doubt that happened. Again, it all goes to the abuse factor, right? But I remember when one of the only times I went into the unemployment office, and I was like, how long is this going to take? And how much is it? And I was out the door getting another job because it was peanuts to what I could make out there, right? So there are people that maybe their standards are like, oh, this is cool enough for me. I'll take this money and live off the government. But I don't think they're living. The welfare queen that Ronald Reagan brought up was a farce. And that's been perpetuated since I was a kid, that somehow people are living and that person had a Mercedes Benz at the Philadelphia State.
Yeah. No, I think you took what I story a little incorrectly. What I was saying is that she had no drive to do better than what she was. Yeah. There was nothing there to make her go any further than that. And then even when she thought about it, in her mind, it was easier not to do anything. And I don't mind assistance. I'm down for assistance. Assist. The key word here is assist.
No, I agree with you.
And there's some people who you say, yeah, I know there's some people who live on, they have Section 8 and they have this, and there's nothing wrong with you getting assisted. But there is something wrong with it when you're passing it down to your daughter's daughter's daughter, which people do. And you guys keep going and no one's urging anyone to break that chain because you just think it's easier to sit there. And I'm not saying that everyone does this. And like I said, I had got assistance for a long time. I didn't just get off of that. And I had to go to school and everything like that. But I'm saying when I saw that was all that there could be, if I just sat there, that wasn't enough for me.
Yeah,
And I think there's a lot of people who are like that.
that's why I'm bringing up the fact
Yeah.
that there are always going to be people that take advantage of
Yes.
any program out there. And I'm
Right.
not advocating that they should be able to have generational welfare, but it is a tricky situation when you
Right.
have kids involved. And that's my whole thing about you can't just let the poor, Jen, we were
No.
talking, you can't just let the poor, because there's kids involved. So that's where
Right.
I'm coming from there in that sense.
Right.
Well, we love your big old white heart, no saint.
What?
We love your big old white heart. I want Joanna to respond, and then I'm gonna wrap up. This has been fucking amazing, but we're 2 hours and 30 minutes, and this really fucking rocked. I like where everybody came from. I respect everybody's opinion, and we got through, even though we were talking over each other. I'd love to talk about this again. I don't got 15 hours to dedicate to Who Killed Malcolm X, so I'm not doing that show. But I love this shit. This was powerful, believe it or not. So Joanna, I don't know if you want to respond, but after you, I am going to wrap because we all have to get on. It is Monday night, and I don't want to.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I appreciate what No Saint had to say. I definitely appreciated what Miss Polly had to say, because she is a classic example of how the system should work. Everybody needs assistance. Everybody needs a hand. But in scripture, Jesus fed the multitudes 3 times. He didn't feed them every single day. He didn't feed them all the 3 years, where he was, going around preaching and serving people. He did it 3 times. And scripture says the poor will always be among us. That's because, like what Miss Polly spoke about, there's some people who will just rest on their laurels, and they'll unfortunately, they bring their children in tow, and that is sad. And I definitely have empathy, and I have a heart, and I don't want to see any child go hungry. Most of the people in my family are on assistance to this day. So it's not like I'm speaking from a high place. Another way I'll show that I'm not speaking from a high place, my mother went to prison. My mother went to prison for being a degenerate. It's a mindset. It's a cycle. And there's no excuse for continuing that cycle, in my humble opinion. But I would say that I appreciate the people. I think everyone on this panel has a heart, but I think almost everyone on this panel is just fed up with the BS, just fed up with the excuses, fed up with the BS, fed up with generational welfare. If you've been on welfare for 1 time or 2 years and you have a child in tow, that should be encouragement enough for you to want to get off. But which I want to, segue this to the original conversation about Kanye. It's a mindset to continue to be upset at other people when you can do something for yourself. And he has the money to do something without, pointing a finger at the Jewish man or at whomever. And here's an opportunity here. I'll continue to say that there's an opportunity here. And I'm very invested in, not because I'm a Kanye fan, I am not, but I am invested in seeing which way does he go. Does he go back to trying to manipulate white people or Jewish people to give us what we want because we were slaves and my great-great-grandmama was slaves? Or is he going to have a light bulb moment, a come to Jesus moment, and go out and do for himself because he has the intellect? And I do not agree that there's no way he can find the right people to help put in place the mechanisms that he can make this situation work for himself, and possibly, he's always speaking about the Black community, make it work so that it helps some of the Black community. And that's something that I look forward to. I think it was a great conversation, Jen. I'm glad I emailed you about having this conversation. Sister, you was tight tonight. And I want to tell everyone else on the panel, of course, I hope you know this goes without saying, no hard feelings. This is a healthy debate and discussion, and these conversations need to be had. And I hope you have nothing against me. I have nothing against you, but it just shows that the diverse thought processes that is going out through all of America. We are not a monolith, but I think that we can safe to say that a lot of us are just sick and tired of being sick and tired of this mess. Thank you, Jen. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Joanna. Good night.
Now listen, that's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
I just want to say thank you so much, guys. I do you know, Kanye's in a position where he could win big. I just have a funny feeling in a couple years we're gonna all be saying, damn, he could have really did something with that platform and that money. I'm afraid that that's where it's headed more than not. I think his message gets lost in translation, and I love the idea and the vision that he had. I just don't think that he's equipped to execute it, and he's making more enemies than not on both sides. Like, Black people are done with him with that White Lives Matter and slavery was a choice, and now he's turning off the Jewish people. I just think he's not the person to do it. I think the idea was great. The tax bracket is great. It's just, you know, we're passionate about our people. That's why we up here yelling and talking over each other, and I get it, but it's all love. I want him to win, but I'm just like, you're a dumb fuck, man. You're a dumb fuck. And he won't listen to anybody telling him he's a dumb fuck. So maybe he's just not the guy. Maybe in the next 100 years, maybe we will have a guy. Maybe Kanye ain't it. Maybe he's just a rich, pompous asshole. Who knows? So with that said, I know everybody got to bounce out, right? Is there anything really, I'm not going to do the whole thing. Everybody say something. Is there anything really important that you feel has to be said tonight before I close out?
Oh, go. You want? If you want to go first.
Can't hear you, Ish, at all. Can't hear you.
I would like to say something. I'll be very, very quick.
Go ahead.
I think I think we have to look at something that we didn't speak about tonight, which is that many individuals, celebrities and whatsoever, when they have reached the apex of their career, have come with the same issue. Prince, Michael Jackson, Kanye, Dave Chappelle, all have kind of hit this ceiling and always come with the they and the them and the insidious nature of this industry. So I just would like us to just look that direction, take a deep dive into it. And again, yes, Jim was right. We need to be accountable for our community. We need to be responsible. And like the minister has said, there'll be one day when we come and snatch you off the stage. So that day will soon come.
It sounds like Jesus coming back. All right, guys. So anybody else before I close out, before Tristan?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, just for positive words for anybody, don't let anything stop you from being the best you. Point blank. Don't let anyone say because you lived in the ghetto, your mama was this way, or the environment you're around, stop you from being the best you. And if you got to make big changes to make that happen, do what you got to do, because you're here for a purpose, and you should just run to that purpose or whatever that might be. And so I don't want anyone to use any reason in the world to stop them from doing that, because there's people who out here, they don't let nothing stop them. And just be one of those people and be positive in your movements, and one day at a time. It just takes one day at a time, but you'll get there if you want to get there. And so I just want to leave that with anybody who's just listening, trying to think, I'm going to get there. There's always something in the way. There's always something in the way, but you can make it past. That's all that is. Yeah.
I want to say, this was a great show. You know, everybody didn't agree, but that's usually when you get the best results. I also want to say that it's good to listen to entertainers, but we should not put so much of our thought process into what they think. We should have our own thoughts, our own minds, do our own research, go outside, get into your community, get off the internet, go do something within your community. Don't let these people shape your every thought and your every action, because you got to remember, most of the time they're doing it for money. Most of the women that are telling you to go pop pussy and go do that, they're married. Most of the dudes that are telling you to sell drugs and shoot guns, they live in the suburbs. They don't do that stuff anymore. So let's start to use our own minds. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you, World Kings. All right, everybody, we done?
And on that note, love the panel. No hard feelings. Love you, Joanna, Jen, everybody else on the panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Oh, ain't no love for the brother? Okay, all right. No problem. We see. Talk y'all cool, but see, ain't no brotherhood.
One love. One love, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Oh,
Tristan, dismiss the class.
Man, I'm just happy to see all this racism. It is so beautiful. All this racism.
Another satisfying racial moment.
Class is dismissed.
Good night, Tristan. Thank you. All right, guys. Woo! That one was heavy. Okay, please hit that like and subscribe on your way out my door. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to leave comments in the comments section. You know, that helps me in the algorithm. Tell your friends, bring a friend next time. You know, my panels are always open, okay? As long as we can respect each other. And that's something I love so much about On the Block with Jen, where we yelling like we on the block, but we all do respect each other. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the super chats. I appreciate the financial support, okay? Because mama got to keep the lights on, just like church. Thank you for holding me down in the chat, you guys, all my wrench wielders. So far, so good. I will see you here tomorrow. Again, if you have a show idea for me, On the Block with Jen at Gmail, Cash App On the Block with Jen, TikTok On the Block with Jen, Instagram On the Block with Jen. I'm easy to find. I ain't hiding, bitch. All right, guys. Good night. See you mañana. Love you all. Be good to yourself and each other. And remember, it's your responsibility. Okay? What you watch, what you listen to, what you let your kids listen to, it's our responsibility. We are our responsibility. All right, guys. Good night. Mwah. Woo! That one was heavy. Chach.